listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. We asked the question, how the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this hump day? And what a great show we have lined up for you. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. You're wearing a collared shirt today. What in the wide world of sports is going on?
10:38 tea time, David. 10:38 tea time.
Wow.
Make no mistake. This is nothing to do with the show. This has nothing to do with, sprucing myself up to come look good for the two of you. No, this has everything to do with I've got to bust out of here to make it to the first tee.
Boy, do you ever.
Good news is the golf course is literally across the street from the studio.
No, I understand. I don't know how much of a warm-up that you'll get in.
Maybe 3 swings.
Do you need a warm-up?
I need a few. I mean, I'm old enough now where I've got to get loose.
I was never a warm-up guy. I was always, so I could
You are now.
Well,
trust me on that
right. You're probably right. But I was never a warm-up guy. I could just, race out of the car, take 3 practice swings, let's go.
Probably what's going to happen today. Probably be about the 4th hole before I'm even close to loose, but that's all right. It's,
I always found on days like this when you're racing to, whether, you're showing up last minute in your bowling league or you show up last minute at the tee time, what have you, that there's one part of your game that is actually really good. Like for whatever reason, you won't take a practice putt today and you may putt great.
Let's hope so.
Just like you don't get in a practice shot at all and you may pick up all your spares, when you show up last minute in your bowling league.
You ever been in a bowling league?
A bowling league, not really. I was at a TV station one time in which we did a regular weekly bowling thing. Just us, though.
I mean, for the longest time, who was the former manager of the Twins that they bowled everywhere?
Gardenhire. Absolutely.
That was a big deal.
The Twins in Fort Myers, 15 years they had a regular bowling thing. I don't know if it still goes on or not with the new regime.
But they didn't just play here in Fort Myers. That was a regular –
Correct.
was Gardy. It was a regular thing with he and his coaches and a few of the players for years and years.
And I think it even went back before Gardy that Tom Kelly, TK, started – or because Gardy was on that staff and then much of that staff went with Gardy when he got promoted. So, I think that spanned a couple managers there with the Twins. But yeah, they used to love spring training in Fort Myers. Okay. Why do you like it so much? Oh man, we got a couple of bowling alleys. We go here on Tuesdays. We go here on Wednesdays. It's great.
Well, yeah, they'd go sometimes earlier in the day when no one was there.
Well, you think about your 1 o'clock games.
It's March. What's everybody doing around here? They're at the beach.
Right.
By 5 o'clock, these guys can we get to the lanes?
Right.
We want to bowl.
Exactly. 5:30, they're having, pizza and beer at the bowling alley, which is empty.
All my years in minor league hockey broadcasting, every year there would be a bowling tournament on the road. That was always a road, get the team together.
Right. Take a look at the schedule and go, we could have it right here.
Right. There'd be a long road trip where you had 4 or 5 days between games and you weren't coming home and you'd work outside. Just something to take the team away from the rink and just do something, a little team bonding experience. Always fun because there's always a few players that are really good.
Boys, just letting you know, okay, when we're spending that off day in Baton Rouge, we're bowling.
That's right. Red Stick Lanes.
Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Mentioned a good show lined up for you. Tom Rinaldi will join us on the show coming up at the top of the 8 o'clock hour.
How about that?
Yeah. Calling in some chips there. Actually, we were sitting around in January in Los Angeles, I believe it was, and he asked a trivia question of like 6 of us in the production meeting. And
do you know the answer?
I did. I was the only one that did.
There's a show. Everybody surprised?
And so it just led to, hey, I think, and he goes, I'm doing an episodic podcast series. I've just started working on it. And I said to him, I go, well, would you mind coming on our show when you're done? And he goes, I would love to. And so I said, okay, I'm going to keep in touch, like every 6 weeks, I'm just going to text you, how's it coming, that sort of deal. And so a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, just finished it. And I go, all right, well then let's do it. So Tom Rinaldi, and we're going to, keep him for a little while.
So looking forward to that. That should be fun. You've given me a little briefing on a very little briefing on what this is about. It's an incredible story
that really no one knows about, which is stunning when you find out what the story is.
Correct.
So Tom Rinaldi at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, and we're going to keep him for a couple segments today, but it's a Seth Everett day. He will join us. I don't know how much sports we will talk with Seth, but he's got the 3 podcasts, and one of them's Tech Stream. And I believe the Tech Stream that they did this week is on the future of radio. So I have a feeling that we are going to end the show today talking about the future of radio.
Oh, great. This should be a real positive experience, because everybody that does podcasts has been telling me radio's been dying for the last 20 years. Right. Sirius was going to kill radio, didn't do anything to it. No. Podcasts have they've all affected listenership, but I also know that 93% of Americans get their listen to the radio.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, and how many people do we know who hear our show after the fact through a podcast, but you're essentially doing what? Listening to the radio show. I always thought when the technology was developing, I'm like, well, that's just more ways to listen. This is great. Wow. You mean to tell me I can listen not live? Well, damn. Then in theory, more people are going to listen, right?
So download the Miller and Moulton podcast at all the usual places.
Right. Florida Sports Network. .com, and we will head across the pond. Bob Harig, on the eve of the Open Championship, will join us. We wrote that Tiger and Phil book.
Tiger had a few things to say.
Let me tell you, yeah, he is not shy about this at all, and good for him that he's not shy, that he's at least speaking up about something. I mean, he's not being ambivalent about this. I mean, he and Derek Jeter have been pretty, wishy-washy, Michael Jordan as well. I mean, they perfected speaking without really saying much.
The non-answer answer.
Right. And in this case, exactly where he stands. So, good. Okay. That's your opinion. I'm glad you have one. All right.
Now I hope you get paired with DJ on Saturday.
That would be spectacular if he got paired with nothing but LIV golfers on the weekend.
Well, you know why that would be spectacular? It would mean Tiger's playing the weekend.
So you have doubts as to whether he's going to play the weekend.
Hey, first off, you got to get the right draw over there. Winds can come up, and
sure.
I've not paid an ounce of attention to what weather is going to be, but I know the Scottish Open, if you were on the wrong end of that, you were screwed.
No doubt. The one day in particular, just one single round, the afternoon tee times were 3 shots harder than the morning. 3 shots. I mean, it's a big difference if it's a shot worse in a particular time slot versus another. To have a 3-shot time difference is staggering. But that can happen over there. Tiger was trying to win the Grand Slam one year. I mean, forget which year it was that he won the Masters in the U.S. Open. Might have been 2005. And he goes over there, and he's very much in contention, 36 holes in, and he gets caught on the wrong side of it and shoots like 82. And this is Tiger when he is at the top of his game, and you get caught on the wrong side of it, baby. Oh, well.
So that's the first thing about this. What happens on Thursday and Friday, you can get the wrong draw and be out of the tournament.
So what's he got, a 10 a.m. local time?
Right.
Which is 5 a.m. our time tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, I just realized.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to have a co-host who's...
I'm going to be doing play-by-play. I'm going to be doing a legal play-by-play tomorrow. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. So it's going to work out well?
I'm all fired up. I'm going to go to bed at 6 tonight so I can get up in time, watch that Peacock all morning long.
Right. Really?
1:30 for that first tee time.
I do remember when NBC got the Open Championship a few years ago, and they aired their first ever shot on the Golf Channel, and I did stay up for it. I did. I don't know if we were doing our second act yet, because it was right around that time. We did our second act beginning in 2017, and so I think I didn't have a gig, and I could stay up and watch the 1:30 in the morning, golf shot. So Paul Lawrie, right?
Paul Laurie's got the first shot.
The 99 champion. He's the one who won it when we all thought Van de Velde was going to win. Paul Lawrie, who started the day like 10 or 11 shots off the lead. Threw like a 4-under round on the board, sat back, and watched everybody come back to him. So, Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Great show lined up for you. And Bud Elliott tomorrow, oh, by the way.
Start getting ready for a little college football with Bud. But I'm fired up for the British Open, the Open Championship, whatever the hell you want to call it. They're at St. Andrews. Pretty special place. Was lucky enough to go there when I spent my summer abroad. And, just kind of, we played putt-putt because the course is closed on Sunday. It's a park in the town of St. Andrews. It happened to be a beautiful day, and they're just milling about and having picnics on the fairways. And they turned it into an 18-hole glorified mini golf course.
So you can walk on the course?
The course is closed on Sunday. It's a public park.
So you can walk the course, you just can't play it.
Correct.
So could you bring a putter?
Well, that we rented a putter. They gave you a ball, and they played,
Right.
It was not American putt-putt. It was just, you're putting down the fairway. They stuck a hole there, and that was number one. Well, it was a riot. I had 3 non-golfers with me. They all loved it. And I got to walk around St. Andrews for 3-4 hours.
Wow. That's, what were you, like 19?
Yes.
Did you fully appreciate it at the time?
I mean, I made that. We were in Edinburgh for the weekend. I said, if we're in Edinburgh, I said, can we drive to St. Andrews? Because I can't be this close to the home of golf and not go.
Right.
And I was the only golfer, and they all loved it. They all loved St. Andrews. It was a quaint little town. We had a great afternoon. And all I remember, it was a hell of a drive back in the rental car because we didn't get back till about 1 a.m. But younger and stronger, David, we can handle those things. But a great place. Looking forward to the Open Championship. Got to work through it, though. Usually I just get up and watch. Miller and Moulton, terrific show lined up today. Tom Rinaldi in the 8 o'clock hour. Looking forward to that right here. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Here. This is what I was about to send to Marty and Bruce.
Yeah.
I mean,
Harrison Ford's 80 today.
and what is she? Is she 50?
About. David, how would you say this name? Guglielmo?
That works for me.
All right. Radio was invented today.
Marconi?
Yeah,
So that's his first name?
that's what they're saying.
Wow.
I like mad, like, you
How
know.
about Goog? Googs.
Googie.
Googs.
Old Googs. Old Googs.
Sandy's a hockey player, Mark.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bob Harig in a little more than an hour from across the pond. Tom Rinaldi, Seth Everett, joining us in our 8 o'clock hour. Thanks so much for being with us. So, a couple times in the last 2 weeks, we've discussed the Brittany Griner situation. And it's complex. It's not as simple as some are making it out to be. And, LeBron's got that, barbershop type show of his.
Right.
And during it, and it was released, a new episode was released yesterday. And so you're going to hear about this today if you haven't already. So LeBron and the guys were sitting around and they were talking, and he made the comment in the show that if he were Brittany Griner, he may not return to the United States because he might feel as if his country doesn't have his back.
She's been over there 110 days. Now, how could she feel like America has her back? I'd be feeling like, do I even want to go back to America, is what he said. He tweeted later, I was simply saying how she's probably feeling emotionally, along with so many other emotions, thoughts inside that cage she's been in for over 100 plus days. That was his retraction, if you will. That was his apology for LeBron sticking his foot squarely in his mouth, in my opinion.
Well, and I didn't take it as a retraction or an apology. I took it as he was just explaining that I was speaking as if I were her, that if she felt this way, I would understand.
And look I love LeBron, the basketball player.
You and I both.
LeBron, the humanitarian, the politician, the whatever the hell he's trying to be, should really shut up sometimes because he's way off base with this. To even insinuate that the fact of the matter is, and you and I differ a little bit on this. Fact of the matter is, she was transporting drugs into a foreign country. It's the dumbest damn idea I've ever heard in my life. It petrifies me as someone I have no problem. You can smoke as much weed as you want. I'm all for it. I want it legal everywhere. But I'm still not going to bring it to Russia. So I don't know how all of a sudden we don't have her back because she committed a crime. This is not that easy. And LeBron's trying to make it out that apparently we were going to make a phone call and Brittany Griner's going to get released. Or if he would have made a phone call, she would be released. I think at some point, and I don't want him to stick to sports. I'm not going there. But if you're going to open your mouth constantly about things you really don't know enough about, you better be prepared for what's coming. It's going to be a long day for LeBron.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a long day. I think he meant what he said, including the clarification, and I don't think he'll back down from it. I don't. And whatever grief he gets, he gets. I mean, he can withstand it. I mean,
oh, absolutely. But I will say this, he does not like being the bad guy. And comments like this will get him booed and negative attention, and he hates that. Not as much as Kevin Durant, but he hates it.
Yes, he's definitely not as sensitive as Kevin Durant.
But he is sensitive.
That is for sure. Although I think the skin has gotten a lot thicker in recent years. He was sensitive, I felt, when he went to Miami. That those were his sensitive years. And that since then, going back to Cleveland and then, finally winning it.
And putting the white back on in Cleveland.
To some degree, yes. With some people, no, but yes.
But I think the masses shifted a little bit.
And then, he's pretty confident in, hey, I've gone to 3 places and won championships at all 3. There's not a lot of people who've done that. And I've been the dude at all 3 places too. I mean, this isn't just me, me being a complimentary player. I mean, I've been the dude at all 3 places and I've had good players around me, but I still was the dude in all 3 instances that we won championships. So he's got the business interest. Here's a question. Michael shied away from saying controversial things or voicing his true opinion on potentially controversial things because Michael was a businessman early, as he famously said when he wouldn't get involved in the 1990 Senate race in North Carolina, when it was a conservative white Republican against a left of center black Democrat. And the thought was that Michael would come out strongly for Harvey Gantt, the Democratic senator who was trying to take down Jesse Helms, a polarizing politician. And Michael said, hey, Republicans buy shoes too. And he stayed out. And there were a lot of people there that were like, oh man, we really needed you here. Could have gone a long way. And I think LeBron is past that.
Maybe.
I mean, I think the whole China snafu for him, what was that, about 3 years ago now?
Yes.
I think that kind of got him past a certain point in which it's like, well, I don't know if I can take many more slings and arrows, if you know what I mean. I mean,
well, the hypocrisy runs deep among
no
the
doubt.
NBA.
No doubt.
More than any other league out there.
It's pretty high. I mean, some would say there's some hypocrisy going on in golf right now, but it's higher in the NBA.
It's much higher in the NBA. And there's plenty to talk about in the world of golf, and we do on a regular basis on this show.
But is that an outlandish opinion in your estimation?
It is to me.
That you don't think, because there's a gentleman, I think the last name's Whalen. Is it Doug Whalen, who's been detained for 4.5 years. And there will come a day, hopefully, in which he is released. If he were to be interviewed, and if he said at some point during his detainment, I lost faith, I questioned whether or not, my country cared about me anymore, would you find that to be an outrageous statement? Because I think that's what LeBron, and I'm not taking his side here.
I think there's a huge difference between 4.5 years and 110 days.
Agreed.
I don't know what he was arrested for. I know they think he's a spy.
Right.
But I don't know what his original arrest was for. I don't know enough about that to speak about that.
Well, most people think it's completely trumped up.
I got you. But I don't know. I don't know enough about it to speak on it, and I'm not going to get involved on whether or not what his feelings are. All I know is that Brittany Griner right now we have her back. The president's actually trying to get her out. So for LeBron to say that he's way off base, I think there are no grounds for him to say what he said. I think, again, it's LeBron speaking on subjects he does not know enough about. It's reading the front page of the book and thinking you know the whole thing.
For whatever it's worth, because most people feel that she pled what she pled to try to hopefully lay the groundwork to be part of a prisoner swap. But her defense attorneys last week, we as her defense explained to her the consequences. She stressed that she committed the crime out of carelessness, getting ready to board a plane to Russia in a hurry, not intending to break Russian law. She, by the way, I think has to reappear in court tomorrow. I agree with you. I mean, now, if you think that you're being abandoned because we haven't brought you home yet, well, okay, we're not in your shoes. But clearly, I mean, the president has a list of things to do every day. She's on it.
And for LeBron at this point to say things like that while this is going on, I just think it's out of bounds. I think he has no grounds for what he's saying. I think it's a mistake. And I want these athletes to voice their opinion, but they also have to be accountable when they make statements that to me are completely inaccurate.
He was trying to speak on behalf of her. All right. I wish he had spoken on behalf of him. Okay. Because then we'd know, quite frankly, where exactly he stands. Miller and Moulton, starting five is next. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Get the tying run on second. Late, do nothing with it, but
Jimmy Bird, can you explain to me the last part of that? I don't quite make out the second half of your sentence there. 10 years ago, we sent people to prison for same thing, and then I don't quite understand what you meant. I don't know if there's a typo there, or so just curious if you could clean up the point you were trying to make there, because I'm interested in what you had to say. Adam, you crack me up sometimes, because there are times in which we don't know if you're serious or if you're being over the top funny. Dennis Rodman.
oh my gosh.
They're funny. Well, there's no doubt, Paul. I mean, she took a stance, and it has hounded her for over 50 years. And that, well, no, Jimmy, I didn't understand the second half of your sentence. I asked you to explain it.
Read what you said, Jimmy, because it makes zero sense, buddy.
10 years ago, we sent people to prison for same thing in us, we sports or political today. I mean, that the second half doesn't.
Even if that's U.S., it still doesn't make sense.
Right. So,
I mean, no offense, buddy. You what you wrote doesn't read what you wrote and then retype it. That's all David asked.
Yeah, that's all. Because I want to know what you said.
I thought the same thing. We were still on the air. I'm like, what is that? I don't know what that means.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes for the top of the hour, an hour away from Bob Harig, live from across the pond as we get ready for the 150th Open Championship. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com.
I know it'd be mean to do, but can we ask Bob tomorrow if we can just call that phone and he can hand it to a BBC reporter for 5 minutes?
So that's, you want us to maybe track down somebody.
Anyone who can give us some commentary like this, David.
The wind is freshening a bit, Mark. Magic numbers are 45, 50, and 57. 6.5 weeks away from week 0. Nebraska Northwestern, 7 weeks tomorrow. The beginning of week 1 of the college football season with Pitt, West Virginia on Thursday, September 1st, to begin a 5-day college football extravaganza. And it is 8 weeks tomorrow. Just 8 weeks tomorrow. Bills, Rams at SoFi. 45, 50, and 57.
We are getting there, David.
Yeah. Yeah, we really are. So just it's hump day, getting over the hump, but also those numbers are getting small enough where, people feel as if we're really getting over the hump. You know what I mean?
By the way, you want to text the show. FSN radio is the keyword, all one word. 21,000 is the number. A few things we've been talking about already that you may have an opinion on. Would love to hear it from you. So text the show, FSN radio, to 21,000.
Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, believe it or not, and I know this might be a shock to you, but I'm beginning with NHL free agency. It begins at noon. You know me, Mark. Free agency, drafts. Wow. It begins at noon, and there were a couple deals made yesterday. Turns out Evgeny Malkin's not going to leave Pittsburgh. The Penguins blinked. They went 4 years. Malkin wanted at least 4 years. They weren't going to go 4 years. They went 4 years. And he got the same amount per year as Chris Letang did, even though Letang got 6 years. So Malkin got 6.1 a year for 4 years. That adds up to $24.4 million. Malkin, like Letang, is 35 years old. The Penguins are keeping the band together, but the band's old.
The band's old. It stretches, and it doesn't snap back nearly as quickly as it used to.
Evander Kane, a controversial player, re-signed with Edmonton, a 4-year deal at a shade over $5 million a year, $5.125 a year. So he got $20.5 million for the next 4 years to stay in Edmonton. However, Johnny Gaudreau, Mark, is going to turn out to be the name on the NHL free agency board. He announced yesterday he's leaving Calgary. He's a 28-year-old winger who had, 100-plus points this year, 40-plus goals. He's a South Jersey kid. He's married. They're about to have their first child. And basically, he's heading back to the Northeast in some way, shape, or form. The word is he's going to sign with either the Islanders, the Devils, or the Flyers. There's reportedly...
So the next 3 years of his career are going to be in obscurity.
Yeah, you got that right. But, well, not necessarily
not with
the Islanders.
I know. The joke was better without them in it.
But I don't know how the Islanders are going to do it because they got cap issues. So I have no idea how they'd sign him. But the word is he's going to the Devils at over $10 million a year. $10 million is a big figure in the NHL. There's only 14 players in the league making 10 or more million a year. And the word is Johnny Gaudreau is going to become number 15.
And as we've pointed out, the cap is only going up by $1 million this year. They've had to slowly raise it because of COVID when they lost money for 2 years.
Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, made some news yesterday. He had always been on the record as saying the NBA age limit is 19. He had always wanted it to go to 20. Yesterday, he did an about face and said, in listening for a few years now to people in college basketball and pro basketball, plus with the whole NIL situation, he now, in the next CBA, wants the NBA age limit to be reduced to 18. Now, they've got a few years left on their CBA, but they can opt out this winter, and then the CBA would be up after this season. Most people believe that both sides are going to do that, and they're going to negotiate a new CBA sooner rather than later, because there's a few issues that Silver, like he also proposed yesterday, we may have to have incentives for games played. He goes, I'm fed up with load management. He goes, I don't know how we change it, except maybe contracts need to be based on games played.
I don't even know if that matters when you're paying a guy $50-60 million a year. So instead of, what's Lillard getting on that extension? It was something just gross.
61 a year. It's a 2-year extension, 2 for $122.
Okay, so
right.
I'm sorry. You know what? If I only play 72 games, do I make $55 million?
Well, but obviously the contracts that are in place now, they can't do anything.
I understand, but I'm just saying
right.
The money is so big. I don't know how you do it. I love what he is trying to propose, David. I think it's hard in practicality to put it in play.
But what I think Adam Silver sees is, man, we're going to have guys making 40s, 50s, and in some cases $60+ million a year. You want to get resentment from the fans. How about then they're only playing 75% of the games? I mean, you can do this old media, new media, old school, new school, all you want. But you go back to the glory days of the Magic, Larry, Michael generation. Guys played 80 to 82 games. I mean, they played. You take a look at how few games Michael Jordan missed during his 90s run there with the Bulls. It's staggering. His final, I believe, Mark, both the years he played with the Wizards, I don't think he missed a game. I'm pretty sure his last year in the league, he played all 82 games. At his age, with what he had accomplished. A couple of other NBA notes. The Utah Jazz had originally said, listen, we're keeping Donovan Mitchell. We're building it up around him to take a title run in a couple of years. Well, they came out yesterday and said, well, I mean, we're willing to listen. Mitchell's 25. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's averaging 24 points a game in his career. He has 4 years and $135 million left on his contract. We'll give credit to the NBA and the NBA Players Association yesterday. They did what the NFL has always refused to do. They took care of the old guys yesterday. There'd been an issue about, when the ABA and NBA merged, I think in 76, that there were guys that fell through the cracks who played, say, 3 years in the ABA, but then didn't catch on in the NBA, or they made the transition to the NBA, but they only played a couple years. And so they didn't qualify for pensions. And Mark, there's 115 players that fell through the cracks that are still alive. Well, the NBA and the NBA Players Association yesterday put $25 million aside for them. And so, I mean, it's anywhere from like $12,000 to $25,000 a year for these players. But I mean, they're giving them something.
Better than a sharp stick in the eye.
I mean, Mike Ditka has lobbied for over a decade for the NFL and the NFLPA to take care of their players from that era. And the league, despite being $20 billion annually, has rarely done anything. The Rays beat the Red Sox 3-2 to move into second in the AL East. Chris Sale had 5 scoreless innings in his season debut, but Tampa scored 3 times in the 6th. 2 of the runs were unearned. And then the Red Sox at first and third with nobody out in the 7th, and Verdugo at third got picked off. And then they didn't threaten after that. So the Rays have taken the first 2 games of this 4-game series. Meanwhile, Mark, the Yankees lost their 3rd in a row.
Yeah, they gave up 4 in the 9th to the Reds.
Mark, the Yankees have been 49-0, taking a lead into the 9th inning this year, and the Reds have been 0-48 when trailing going into the 9th inning.
Somebody hit it on the money line.
Yankees have now lost 3 in a row. So they're only like 35 games above 500. The Marlins didn't get it done again against the Pirates. Pittsburgh's won 4 in a row, give them credit, but the Marlins, they won Sunday against the Mets, but they were shut out for 9 innings on just 2 or 3 hits before winning in the 10th. And they've had 5 hits in each of their 2 home losses to the Pirates here. I mean, we said it. They need help on offense. Their pitching is good enough to get to and win games in October.
Their pitching's elite right now in the league.
Certainly their starting pitching.
Yes.
Bullpen's actually a little shaky, but yes, their starting pitching.
Starting pitching.
Without question. But they need at least 2 bats, quite frankly. Pirates 3-2. Rays beat the Mets 4-1. Matt Olson, Adam Duvall each hit 2-run homers in the win. So they're back to a game and a half behind New York. Toronto beat the Phillies 4-3, while the Cardinals beat the Dodgers 7-6. Pujols homered again. That snaps the Dodgers 7-game winning streak. It also moves the Cardinals ahead of the Phillies in the race for the final playoff spot in the National League by a game presently. Brewers beat the Twins, however, 6-3, so their lead in the Central over St. Louis remains at 2. Meanwhile, the Twins' lead over the Guardians is 3.5 as they split a doubleheader with the White Sox, who are 5 back. Cleveland won the first 4-1. Bieber went the distance on 95 pitches. How about that? And the White Sox won the nightcap 7-0. Astros beat the Angels 6-5. I mean, at what point, if you're the Angels, do you seriously start to consider trading Trout and Ohtani? I mean, come on, you gotta consider it. Ohtani's got a year and a half left under contract. Why is he going to stay? He hasn't played a meaningful game. He'll be 29 years old.
I don't know how you're keeping Ohtani, but trading Trout, you've got him locked up.
Well, when does Mike Trout become an NBA player and just walk in and go, I've given you guys the best decade a player has given a franchise in 50 years, but come on, you got to send me somewhere where I'm going to play meaningful games. I can't do any more for you than what I'm doing. I actually took less money.
Right. That's
the
biggest. That's the part that I'd see. So they're not,
I mean, how close if you're Mike Trout? I know he's an easygoing guy and laid back and all that, but come on. I mean, your career is wasting right now playing for this franchise. Just throwing it out there. I mean, come on. If that was an NBA franchise,
oh my goodness.
I mean, Ohtani and Trout would already have requested a trade. Tigers beat the Royals 7-5. Rockies over the Padres 5-3. Did you ever play in a 13-run pool?
I did not.
We did. TV station I was at for a couple years, we had the 13-run pool. And it was great because it just rolled over every day. I mean, you could go a month without somebody scoring 13 runs. Giants won the 13-run pool yesterday, 13-0 over the Diamondbacks. And by 13-run pool, you have to score exactly 13. Like Oakland.
Hence the 13-run pool.
Right. Like Oakland beat Texas 14-7 and 12. That doesn't count. You scored 14, not 13. And give it up to the Baltimore Orioles. 9 in a row. They beat the Cubs 4-2. They're 500. The whole AL East is 500 or above.
The Baltimore Orioles are 500 in baseball in July.
They're 2 games out of the final playoff spot.
Good for them. Good for their fan base.
Seattle got rained out in D.C. Mariners have an 8-game winning streak. they'll play a doubleheader against the Nats today. Marlins Garrett Cooper, by the way, added to the National League All-Star roster. So the Marlins have 3 All-Stars. 3. And they're in 4th place. The Patriots, oh, by the way, traded another wide receiver bust, N'Keal Harry, to the Bears for a 24 7th-round pick. You want to talk about a throwaway. They were going to cut him. In 3 years, the first-round pick out of Arizona State had 57 total catches for less than 600 yards and just 4 touchdowns. He had requested a trade a year ago, only played like 30% of the snaps last year. He's like, get me the hell out of here. And they're like, well, good, because you suck. We will. So the writing had been on the wall from the moment they acquired Devontae Parker from the Dolphins. And that, gentlemen, was...
That was the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
You know, Belichick, arguably the best ever, cannot draft a wide receiver if his career depended on it. We all have weaknesses. He cannot draft a wide receiver.
No, they've had 0 luck.
And they traded for Wes Welker,
right,
from the Dolphins, and they, signed Moss as their free agent or traded for him from the Raiders. But, I mean, man, he's had a lot of bad luck with 1st and 2nd round picks at wide receiver.
And he's not used that many on it. That's not a position they go to early, and when he has, it hasn't worked. Miller and Moulton, Bob Harig, coming up in about 40 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Felipe, did you see my text? Okay. Jake, we're good. How are you? We're really good. Bob Harig in 35 minutes. Tom Rinaldi in an hour. Glad to hear that, Jake. Chris, here's the funny thing about Trout and Ohtani to Miami. Let's just assume you don't have to give up anybody who's currently on your team, which obviously you would, but let's just assume you wouldn't. So Trout's making 43. That's what? 80% of the Marlins payroll? And then there's Ohtani, who's a free agent in a year and a half, who's probably going to make more. Here's my question, Chris. How many more people you think would start going to the ballpark? On average, every night, if the Marlins got Trout and Ohtani?
It's a great question. The Ohtani starts would draw more fans.
Okay, but
no. I'm talking about the every night Trout. 3,000-4,000 a night.
Well, the one like last week when Felipe went, it was a little over 5,000.
Yeah, I'm saying 3,000 a night on the Trout factor. Like their attendance would go up for Trout, but it wouldn't be 5,000. I don't think.
So you figured Trout, let's just say Ohtani's going to give him 16 home starts. So you get 5,000 times 16, that's 80,000 more people for Ohtani.
Right.
And then for the other 65 games, if we say Trout's going to give him 2,000. That's 130,000. So 130,000 and 80,000. So by acquiring Trout and Ohtani, they're only going to bring an extra 210,000 people to the ballpark. And you're going to have to spend for the next year and a half, you're going to have to spend $60 million for those two. And beginning in 2024, if you want to keep them, you're going to have to spend about $95 million. And your attendance is going up $250,000 people. It just doesn't add up.
You didn't bring up the new NBA rule in your starting five, did you?
No.
I was a little disappointed.
Oh, okay. Well, you could go there next if you want, or in the short
transition
segment.
Take foul.
Right. So you get a free throw, and you get to keep the ball?
Free throw and the ball.
Right. I think, by the way, that's how you change the whole end of game free throw situation.
They're not putting it doesn't apply to the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
No, I know, but I'm saying in college and pro basketball, you want to end the whole foul fest in the final minute. You just do one free throw in the ball.
They don't want to.
Yeah.
They clearly said by the rule they have no interest in doing that.
Which,
I mean, that we can talk about. That's an actual subject. But for the short segment, not here.
well, Jimmy, you know that we try to stay away from politics, even though it would probably help the number of followers we have and what have you. But we just decided a long time ago.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Thanks so much for being with us. Bob Harig will join us from across the pond in a little over 30 minutes' time. Tom Rinaldi, 1 hour from now. He's got an episodic podcast about a murder. A little different subject matter for Tom Rinaldi. And so he's just completed it, and we're going to help him promote it and also talk about it because it's a fascinating subject that everybody should be aware of, and hardly anyone is. So hence the reason he did the podcast, hence the reason we're going to have him on in an hour to talk about it. And Seth Everett in a little more than an hour and a half talk about who knows what.
Apparently the end of radio.
That's one of his podcasts this week. Yes. Or just the future of it. You know, the future who knows? Maybe he's changed his mind. But TechStream apparently is on the future of radio. And the death of radio has been exaggerated for 20 years.
At least.
Yeah.
All of the things that were going to kill it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Trust me, cable television in more trouble than radio.
That's a damn good point.
Think about it. I mean, it's documented the cord cutting in cable television.
And the radio numbers have been 92, 93% and have stayed pretty much that way for over a decade.
Right. In fact, radio did okay during the pandemic, to be honest with you. And if you count podcasts, now some people don't. But I mean, if you're like when you go to floridasportsnetwork.com and you download our podcast, I mean, come on, what are you downloading? You're downloading a radio show. I mean, how does radio not get credit for that? Just a thought. Especially any kind of local radio. I mean, there's a lot less local connections all throughout this country. You watch local newscasts all over the country. I mean, they're to fill the time that they have to fill in between commercial breaks. I mean, they're bringing in stories from wherever they can get them.
You get some of the larger companies that share the stories throughout all their news. And
I mean, your local paper, if you still read it, I mean, there's more national and regional stuff in your local paper than there ever was before. I mean, our country is less local than it's ever been. But so Seth Everett, a little more than an hour. Who knows what we'll talk about? We may end up talking Johnny Gaudreau for all I know, especially if, well, he can't sign with the Devils before noon.
But if there are any rumors to that effect, it will be an all Devils talk with Seth Everett.
So Miller and Moulton on this Wednesday.
All right. I don't ever did you see finally, we talked a little about this, the Open Championship, and Max Homa got a gift in his opinion, not in ours. Max Homa, 9 years ago, sent Tiger Woods a tweet after he had won the Pac-12s and the NCAAs and had qualified for the U.S. Open, saying, any chance I can get a practice round with you? #hero. When he found out that he was playing with Tiger Woods, he tweeted out yesterday, I'm playing with Tiger Woods at the 150th Open Championship. Hey, golf gods, we're even. Can't believe this is real. And yeah, it's corny, but who cares? I'm playing with the freaking GOAT.
Now, see, there's a PGA Tour player. That's a top 50 player in the world, if not top 30 player in the world. And what did he refer to?
The golf gods.
There you go. The defense rests. All right.
You don't have to sell me.
I'm just saying, and I know there are members in your family that are not believers. All right. Show them the tweet.
Right now, while they're in the car, there's a chance they're listening. You go here. The only window in which I could get a lot of heat from this, you found it, David. That is absolutely perfect on your part.
Come on now. Listen, for the rest of this week, all right, you know, me and then my family here. Come on. What could we do to get in trouble in your household? I mean, we came through in a big way yesterday.
Huge way. David's daughter took up the drums a while back.
Yep.
She's now a mom, so playing the drums is not really in her plans in the next, 4 to 17 years.
I was going to say, well, till at least kindergarten, right? I mean, got to get the little one out of the house before you can see there'd be any time to play the drums.
So my daughter just started playing the drums, and I was ready to make a purchase of a drum kit, and Dave was like, I think I've got one for you.
Right.
So yesterday, David's wife brought the drums back from the daughter's house. I set them up, and so, no. And they're electric, which means they don't make noise.
I know, which I have to admit I think sucks. I mean, I really do. Okay. I think it sucks. I mean, you guys are getting off. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Come on now. It payback through the generations. I mean, your mom must be honked. Hold on a second. Your daughter gets to play an electric drum set, no noise. I mean, part of the whole dues you pay in parenthood is listening to your child play an instrument badly, loudly, for maybe years at a time. And you guys are going to avoid any and all of that because the drums are electric and all the music is in her headphones. I mean, that sucks.
And I'm the only one bad enough that I'll put the headsets on and let her drum and listen. Because you know me, I think this is the greatest thing ever.
I mean, I want your wife coming home from a long day's work where she let you know on the hour drive home, hey, make sure there's a glass of wine waiting for me. And I want her to come through the door with the stress, okay, of her day, putting her feet up, waiting for dinner. It's nearly 7 o'clock, and all of a sudden to hear boom, bada, 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 boom. I mean, come on, that's what parenthood's all about.
Hopefully she sticks with the drums and the electric kit becomes a real kit at some point. Because David, believe it or not, you're not the only one that feels that way.
I mean, I'm glad your daughter's playing the drums. I'm thrilled, actually. The picture you sent out yesterday was just adorable. You could see both the glee of her playing them and the intensity of her playing them all at the same time. It was a great action photo that you sent. But I am, in fact, you know what? I don't know if we can work it into a poll question. Bill Cosby, and I know you're not allowed to, quote Bill Cosby in any good way anymore because, turned out to be
he's a bad person.
Yeah, it turned out to be a bad dude. All right. But Bill Cosby used to have a bit that he did in which he would look out into the audience and he would say, if you have one child, you're not really a parent. And his reasoning was, well, you know who did it. Okay, that part of the challenge of being a parent is when you have more than one child, you spend an unbelievably long period of time just trying to figure out who the guilty party is. And that if you have one child, it's too easy. It's not really. Now, obviously, it was a bit. All right. And to me, this is kind of get an electric drum set. It like plays along with that Cosby bit. I mean, well, she's got an instrument. Well, I guess. I don't know. I can't hear it.
No one can hear it.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, what I this is guilt on my part, that subjecting my mother in a 1-bedroom apartment that we lived in for 6 years. And I got the bedroom. So my mom was sleeping on a mattress and a box spring on the living room floor. And I played the clarinet for 3 years, loudly and badly. And there was, and it was a rectangular apartment too. It was long, but not wide.
Those we like to refer to for your mom as the drinking years.
And so I maybe that's my guilt from the clarinet days.
I think it is, but I think we're in a lot better shape. Like my niece and nephew play like the violin and the cello or something like that. And I'm like, that's terrific. I don't need any of those instruments. I don't need a violin in my house, if you know what I mean. And my daughter was eerily close because she adores her cousin of wanting to take up the violin. And I worked very hard to get some sort of rock and roll instrument in her hand. So I feel like I've won.
I agree.
I feel like I have won this battle with the drums.
Right. I agree. Okay. For you personally, it's win. I just feel as if you're getting off scot-free as a parent, though.
I'll accept that.
All right. Hey, just come on. I mean, is your kid playing an instrument? Yes. Does it make any noise? No. I mean, that to me feels like if we chop down the tree in the forest, but nobody sees it, did it really fall?
I got you. But remember, if she sticks with this, there will be a real drum kit. And by the time she gets it, mom and dad will be much older and probably less receptive to that much noise. So there is still a chance in the teenage years that she could really let loose if she sticks with this.
But, just like I was saying, your wife, I mean, we're not, the electric drums are not contributing to her drinking more. That to me means that your kid's not playing an instrument. I mean, if one of the parents doesn't have to drink more during those 1 to 3 instrument years, because that's the other thing. I don't know about you, but, I hope that your daughter plays the drums for
forever.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be great personally.
As do I.
But the odds are, I mean, kids go through instruments and sports and what have you. And, you're lucky if you can see year 3 really of an activity. They go through things so fast. But
And you've got that right, because she does everything. I do get, the Twitch chat room says it's not a drum set, it's pillows.
Right. Right. Johnny Mack, by the way, in our Twitch chat room is envisioning, man, Moulton, you must have sent a lot of air through that clarinet. Oh, man. I subjected my mom to hell with all that noise. I played it for hours. Badly.
Scenes from an Italian restaurant.
I was not. But I'm glad we could contribute.
Oh, fantastic. The Moultons are big winners in the Miller household right now. And absolutely, very appreciative. And it was a fun day. You know it. Anytime you get the look on the kid's face, and you saw it in the picture, she was ecstatic about it.
How about this for a quick poll question? If you're playing an instrument but it doesn't make any noise, does it count?
No.
Okay, so you do acknowledge it doesn't count.
150%.
Okay. I don't know if it's a good enough poll question.
I don't think it is, because people are going to be in full agreement. What I will say, though, is yesterday people are picking up pennies more than anything else. 50% of our audience, what's the smallest value coin we've been over to pick up? 50% of our audience went with the penny.
All right.
The quarter was next. My vote for nickel came in third. And apparently, if you're picking up a nickel, we're picking up change. People are broke. They're picking up anything they can find, mostly, David.
I think the price of gas had people, maybe they weren't picking up coins 6 months ago, but now, you know what? Every little bit helps.
It's a dadgum good point.
Bob Harig will join us in a little more than 20 minutes. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It was an interesting suggestion. All right. Worst instrument your kid can play.
There you go.
As a parent.
There you go. Now we're getting somewhere. Oh my God.
What?
John. You read the John and I are going back and forth. When I told him to come in. $3 hours and a waste of time hour.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, in honor of Mark's daughter taking up the drum, what is the worst instrument?
The electric drums. But yes. And taking up the drums. Yeah.
What is the worst instrument?
In parenthesis, for noise.
Or what's the worst
that your child could play. Trumpet.
I think the violin's the absolute worst.
Okay.
Just because it's hard to play.
All right.
But that's just me.
Okay.
Oh God, we're doomed. Drums.
Oboe. My wife played the flute, apparently, and was apparently phenomenal at it. Got a music scholarship. So good.
Trumpet, drums, guitar. We can put violin. Do you want anything? Do you saxophone?
You put violin, didn't you? And if you want violin, but
it's not a popular instrument. That's what I was trying to.
Gotcha. Well, drums,
guitar, trumpet.
A sax. Piano.
Ooh.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Bob Harig in a little more than 15 minutes time as we preview the Open Championship. Hey, Tiger has hinted this could be the last time I have a serious chance to contend at St. Andrews. And usually they play at St. Andrews every 5 years. Sometimes they'll go as long as 6. So Tiger would be 51 or 52 next time they're scheduled to come back to St. Andrews. Do you think he's just being honest?
Yes. I mean, I do think for the first time, and I don't know about the rest of what Tiger talks about, but when it comes to him golfing, I don't know if he's ever been this honest. I don't know if we've ever been able to get these type of answers of truthfulness when it comes to his golf game.
Let's face it, he has struggled in the 2 majors he's played this year. Couldn't finish the PGA. And after a 1-under opening round, he had a 1-under round 2 at the PGA to make the cut, and he had a 1-under opening round at the Masters. but otherwise he has shot some of the highest scores he's ever shot. And he's acknowledged, he goes, listen, I'm not going to be able to practice as much. I'm not going to be able to be tournament tough going into any of the tournaments that I play ever again. I'm just not going to be able to play that much. He's going to have to be a Ben Hogan. After the car accident, even though Hogan won the majority of his majors, but after the car accident, there were years in which Hogan played 2 PGA Tour events, and he never played more than 6 official PGA Tour events in a season after the car accident.
What I do find fascinating about this is that Tiger, obviously, we know now, has come out very much anti-live golf.
Right.
As hard as he's ever been on any one subject.
Oh, by far.
And it's not close, right?
I mean, he never voiced how much he hated Phil this much. And we all knew how much he hated Phil.
And the fact is he's not going to play that many tournaments, but I wonder if it gets him to play even something outside of the majors anymore.
And he's all but said he can't. I mean, you and I have
I know
wondered,
he's all but said he can't. And now the way he's speaking is if he is speaking so dramatically about the importance of the PGA Tour. And he knows he's not a dummy. He knows his importance when he shows up at these events.
Of course.
When he showed up at Greensboro a few years ago and had never gone there and what that did for that tournament.
If Tiger, in my estimation, I mean, I think the tour would want him to play the Players if he were to play one non-major event. If I were the tour, I would want him to play Arnie's event, because you and I both believe that Arnie's event could really suffer here quickly. That the Florida swing is not held in the regard that it was just a few years ago, and that, let's face it, Arnie's not around anymore.
And the other part of it is the Florida swing's really hard.
Right.
The Honda's a bear.
Mm-hmm.
Bay Hill now is turned into a bear. They've made that as difficult as they can make it.
And the Players can be hard.
Right.
And this past year it was. And, you know, PGA Tour players aren't crazy about having to struggle to make pars. I mean, they will do it a couple times a year, one of which is the U.S. Open. So to me, if Tiger is going to play one non-major a year, I think to sustain the Bay Hill, the Arnold Palmer Classic, I think Tiger may have to do it.
I'd sit down with them and I'd say, can we do our best to map out your schedule? Because I love where you're at, but I'd say, Tiger, we handed you this pool of money for your growth of the game. We'll hand you it every year.
Yeah, you're going to win it every year.
Every single year, you're going to win it. Here's what we ask of you for it. Can you spread out where you play? You're from California. Play a California event one year.
Well, he hosts the one event. He doesn't necessarily play in it like he didn't this year. He hosted it. He was there. He handed, was it Homa? I mean, he handed somebody the trophy.
I got you. But, but over the next 5 years, Tiger, are you going to play one event or 2 events that are non-majors? I'm going to play 2. I'll play 3 every 2 years. 2. I would just try to spread them out, almost as if it's his final tour, if you know what I mean. I don't think he'd agree to it. I think he'd tell you where he's going to play, but that's what I would try to do.
I don't even know if he's going to play a non-major ever again. I hope he plays Bay Hill, because I hope that, I'm also concerned about when Jack goes, the future of the Memorial. I mean, it's already been moved from Memorial Day weekend to the first weekend of June. I mean, and for now, okay, it has a really good field. But we all know why it has a really good field. It's got a good place on the schedule. It's 2 weeks before the U.S. Open. That's a really good time. 2 weeks, not 1 week before a major.
The other thing it has going for it, and part of the reason it got moved to that week, is in the Columbus area, the 2 biggest U.S. Open qualifiers are the day after. They set it up so the 2 biggest Open qualifiers are the day after the tournament. Part of the reason they get that field is that everybody that hasn't qualified for the Open, those guys get all, if you're on tour, you get all the way to that qualification level, and they all try to qualify.
But also, that field is as strong as it is in part because they're there to kiss the ring. Now, not everybody does. I mean, Phil doesn't play it much at all. But most everybody kisses the ring, just like they kissed the ring at Bay Hill when Arnie was around. And the field has gotten worse every year since Arnie has passed. And I would like to think, if you're running the PGA Tour, that you want Jack and Arnie's tournaments to continue to thrive. I mean, they literally founded the PGA Tour. They broke away from what was professional golf and formed the PGA Tour in 1969. I mean, Jack even said it in his answer a couple days ago, in which he said, listen, Greg Norman and I disagree on this, and I'll just leave it at that. And I told the LIV guys, listen, I can't go with you because I helped found the PGA Tour. I can't do it. Ron Cyrack, who we have on the show a lot, he sent out a tweet on Twitter this morning in which he said, Arnold Palmer put his arm around Tiger Woods in 1998 and said, hey, you gotta grab ownership of this tour. Jack and I have done our part. Now it's up to you and whoever else. All right. You got to shepherd this tour.
And as much as Tiger chased Jack, he adored Arnie. Going all the way back to Arnie taking him to lunch when he was at Stanford. And then Tiger having to pay back the money for said lunch because he was going to lose his eligibility.
Thanks, NCAA.
But that's how far back Tiger and Arnie's relationship goes. It goes to when he was a collegiate golfer.
And you would see it. How many times on 18th? Well, first off, he won Arnie's event like 7 times. But you could just tell on the 18th green, they got along great. There was genuine laughter. I mean, they're both two of the all-time ladies' men. So you could see
Thank you, because if you didn't say it, I was going to. They had a lot they could discuss. That's all I'm saying. They had a lot in common.
They could if they wanted to. But
all right, I think we've got a poll question up.
Okay, let's go for it.
Based on my daughter taking up the drums, what is the worst instrument for noise that your child could play? And I have drums, trumpet, guitar, and violin.
Hold on. Drums, trumpet, guitar. Ooh, guitar. And you went violin, huh?
Only because my niece plays it, and I know what it sounds like when one practices a violin in a home.
Boy, that's a couple of those notes, too, when you don't get them. Ooh, man.
They don't get that many of them.
That's painful.
It's not an easy instrument to play. So that's our poll question. About to be up. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FL Sports Network on Twitter, floridasportsnetwork.com, whenever that gets posted there as well.
All right. I like it. Miller and Moulton. Bob Harig next.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What are the 4 choices again?
Drums, trumpet, violin, guitar.
I voted trumpet. My reasoning is you have to pick an instrument that can be played off key. Well, vote, Mello. Look at that. Picked off third. Unbelievable. With nobody out.
Right.
Nobody out. Tying run, and you're picked off third. Exactly. KW, that I think you have to have an instrument that you can play off key. That wins the vote to me. Oh.
Yeah, I know. I've seen some accordion. I've seen some tuba. It was like I put the violin on there. There were also instruments. The trumpet and the tuba, I'd rather hear the tuba than the trumpet.
Oh yeah, Mello. But I mean, come on, we're talking about kids playing instruments here. I mean, they don't play them well for a while.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Tom Rinaldi from Fox to join us at the top of the hour. Seth Everett, an hour away. Bob Harig, kind enough to join us from fairly far away. Thank you very much, as he is there for the 150th Open Championship. Bob Harig covers golf for Sports Illustrated, author of the book Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry. Follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Harig, Harig. Bob, it's David and Mark once again. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Good morning, David. Appreciate it.
Bob, the book is titled Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry. I'm curious, in light of what's taken place in the last 6 months, has it gotten more fascinating or less?
Probably more. I mean, I've said this many times here. I could add a few chapters. Certainly, I could add a big one based on what's happened this year. Tiger's comeback, which was very, very hard to predict when I was, finishing up the book. Hard to know when that was going to occur. And obviously we had no idea what was going to happen with this whole thing with Phil. I mean, it just wasn't on our radar a year ago this time at all. I mean, even when the LIV thing was announced in October, November, nobody saw this coming. So, and now, of course, as you've seen, Tiger is very, very firm in what he's saying, and Phil's on the opposite side of it, and so here they are again. I don't think they're sharing texts and having any, backslapping moments these days with this. It's caused quite a bit of tension, not just between them, but among golf in general.
Bob, just how surprised, if at all, are you at Tiger's resolve with the LIV Tour? Because Tiger's one that's not given strong opinions on a whole lot throughout his career. He's been great lately about his own health and his golf game, but for Tiger to go this hard after the LIV Tour, I was a bit surprised. Were you?
No question. He could have answered that far more benignly had he chosen. Let it be known that, look, my allegiance is with the PGA Tour, but whatever those guys want to do, that's their business. It's not mine. He could have answered that in a way. He's handled questions like that over the years many, many times. Instead, he went full in, without a whole lot of prompting. I mean, he got a couple of questions about it, and he ticked off all the boxes that you would talk about. Guaranteed money, 54-hole events, turning their back on the PGA Tour, which is what made them. That's how they got to this point. He didn't address the Saudi part of it, which, is interesting. But I think what it means is it goes beyond that. I think no matter where the money was coming from, this was going to be incredibly controversial. The Saudi part of it is another layer, and it makes it easier for those who are against this to come up with reasons for it. So, but you're right. I thought it was a very strong take. I mean, listen, I have no problem with his take. I have no problem with anybody's opinion on this. I think it's a very polarizing issue. But there are some interesting things, to know about Tiger in regards to all this. Tiger over the years took guaranteed money many times. He went to Dubai, he went to Abu Dhabi, he went to Australia, he went to Turkey, he went to Thailand, he played in China, Japan. All those places were funneling guaranteed funds to him. What I would say in his defense is he never mailed it in. He won a bunch of those tournaments. But, he pointed out yesterday, what's your incentive to practice? And maybe he's proof that you can overcome that. He worked hard to win those tournaments anyway. The other thing is I think deep down, he probably has some of the same gripes about the PGA Tour that some of these guys have. There's who who more than anybody deserved some sort of guaranteed compensation or appearance money for all they brought to the game than Tiger. And he never really benefited from that, not in any large degree on the PGA Tour.
Well, there's no question. I mean, you take a look back, and yes, he's darn near a billionaire if he's not already. But you could also argue he was underpaid for all that he accomplished and all that he has done for the tour over the last 25 years. He's Bob Harig. He writes about golf for Sports Illustrated and author of the book Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry. Follow him on Twitter at Bob Harig, Harig. A final question about Tiger from me is, does this feel... I know he bristled at the retirement question, which was a little strange, but does this feel like a swan song for him at St. Andrews? I mean, he even said, I don't know if when they play here again, I'll be a legitimate contender. I mean, that's putting an end date on his career, if you will, that has never really been put on by him before.
Right. I mean, I think there's something to that aspect of it for sure. I mean, we don't know when the next St. Andrews Open will be. It will obviously be at least 5 years. We're looking at 2027 at the earliest, 2028. At that point, Tiger's going to be 51 or 52. We don't know how much more he's got left. Now listen, maybe there's a great improvement in his leg over the next few years. I don't think his golf skills have diminished all that much. He's diminished by the physical things that he faces. But I think he was just facing reality. He just doesn't know what the situation is going to be 5 years down the road. He doesn't know what it's going to be a year from now. So, and I think that's why he wanted so much to be here. If this had been Royal St. George's, it makes me wonder if this had been Royal St. George's this year, which is a place he missed in 2011. He played there, I guess, just the one time in 2003. Would he have been so determined to get back? It's almost like the Open became the goal, and as it got closer, he allowed himself to dream about playing earlier, which he did at the Masters and the PGA. If it hadn't been this and that goal hadn't been there, you wonder if he maybe hadn't put in the effort or got so emboldened by it, because he might have just thought, look, why would I rush this? Why would I push this? And yet he did. And instead of just this one, it ends up being 3, which, if you step back from the whole situation, it's still, I think, pretty remarkable that's been able to occur.
All right, we've talked a little Tiger, but obviously I don't know if any of us think he's going to contend, although if he does, it never surprises anyone. When you look at this week, who is it? Is it Rory in your eyes? Who is it in your eyes that you've got to keep your eye on as the lead guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rory's up there. Certainly, he's hard to overlook. He's played some pretty good golf here of late. He contended there at the U.S. Open. He won the Canadian Open. He had some good rounds at the Travelers. I think he took the right approach this time and shut it down after that a little bit. Got some rest. Came over here early. Played in Ireland last week. Played links golf with Tiger. Maybe added some more links golf. Even though Rory grew up on this type of golf, he's not been that great at it, frankly. I know he won the Open at Hoylake, but the conditions that year were not so open-like. It was soft, and it fit his game. It fit the air game. This is going to be a ground game this week, and so it's good that he's gotten used to it. I mean, and I think you have to look at him. You just wonder. There's just so much talk about him not winning a major, and when he's gotten himself there, I mean, he's just not able to see himself to be there over the last 9 holes. So I like him, obviously, though. I think John Rahm is a guy that you have to look at. A lot of links experience and obviously playing very, very well. I don't know what to make of Schauffele. For so long, he hadn't won, and we're wondering why he hadn't won. And we talked to him at every major, and then all of a sudden, here he goes. He's won his last 2 starts. He had a nice couple of days in Ireland. I don't think it's bad to come in with good form. And he won, he won at a venue that's links-like, certainly, last week at the Scottish Open. So there's another guy. I'm sort of intrigued to see how he does.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, Scheffler was on a roll and he won the Masters. Schauffele on a bit of a roll here. Maybe it's his time to also win his first major. Bob, are the conditions going to be British Open conditions that we're used to, or is it going to be fairly mild? Because if it's fairly mild, I mean, this turns into the St. Jude Classic where you got to go 20 under to win.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like that. But if it gets calm at all, that's when these guys have a chance. And I was talking to Tony Finau the other day, and I asked him, said, if it's a calm day, everything's just normal, what do you have into the par fours? They have 14 par fours here, by the way. There's 2 par threes and 2 par fives, 14 par fours. And he said, I don't think I have a wedge more than a wedge into any of them. A wedge, I mean, it's a long hitter, but still means a lot of short irons into the par fours if you're not playing into the wind. Well, you're going to be playing some of them downwind if it's windy. So it is vulnerable. But it's been pretty windy all week. It's expected, there is expected to be wind. I don't know if it's going to be strong enough to the point of being perplexing. But the thing that will also help defend it is the turf is very, very hard, very, very firm and fast. And, you just have a hard time knowing how to control the ball. You cannot just fly it to the flagstick. You can't just expect to hit it 280 and only roll out 10 or 20 yards. It might roll 50 yards. It might roll into a bunker. It is going to cause these guys some angst. They're going to have to think some things through. So I think the way with the conditions are now and the way it's looking, I think we're set up for a very interesting Open. I don't think it's going to be easy.
You need a little bit of luck. And then, we talked a little Will Zalatoris earlier this week as well. He's a guy, he's not the best putter out there. They have an advantage. This is not like an American major where you're putting greens that are running at 12, 13, 14. These greens don't do that because of wind and other factors. It does bring in a lot of other players from the way the greens putt, doesn't it?
No question. I think slower greens brings more people into play. It's just not as nervy. You can be a little bit more bold. You can feel like the ball isn't going to run out 4, 5, 6 feet by. And so I think it's sort of like when things are wet. It brings more people into play because you just don't have to be as accurate. Same with putting. If the greens aren't super fast, you can be a bit more bold, and I think there's less break. You don't have to worry about as much break. That said, when it's windy, it's hard to putt no matter the speed. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects things. It can be very, very wide open out there. Wind can affect putting. These greens are huge. The other thing, I mean, they're way bigger than any greens you see anywhere else. There's 7 greens that are double greens. So 14 of the holes have a surface that's continuous over 7 greens. It's actually kind of a unique feature of the course. So the targets are huge and makes it harder to zero in because, again, you can't just get the yardage to the pin and say, all right, it's 153, I'm going to hit it 150. Because if you hit it 150, there's a pretty good chance it's going to bounce and roll over. So now, do you land it 10 yards short? You hit it 140? Do you land it in front of the green and let it run on? So that's and then again, if you misjudge it, you've got these huge greens to putt on.
Bob, we got about 30 seconds. Is there an LIV golfer that you think contends, because no one did at the U.S. Open, and who's your pick?
I definitely think Dustin Johnson can contend. He's still a world-class player. I'm actually surprised that the game has slipped as it has. He's fallen out of the top 15 in the world. I mean, at the beginning of this year, he was in the top 5. And so and in 15, Justin Johnson was a 36-hole leader here, and then he fell off the earth and ended up finishing like 40th. But he's played well here. So I definitely think he can contend. I wouldn't be surprised at all. He actually had a pretty good tournament at the Portland event. He played pretty well there. So for what that's worth, I think playing good golf helps no matter where it is. And my pick is Rahm. I just think that the combination of some links experience and just good play overall is a good thing to have going for him.
Bob, be safe. Enjoy the rest of the week and weekend, and safe travels back. And thanks so much for doing this. Bob Harig, who covers golf for Sports Illustrated. The book, again, Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry. Follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Harig, Harig. Tom Rinaldi of Fox is next.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So it's on the Olympic channel.
Well, for 2 more months anyway.
Wow, kind of laughing. I mean, was it Greg McElroy and Cole Kublik? Are they just in Birmingham? Or is that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just like, they just tweeted out what's on their show. It's like they got Blackburn Golf previews the Open. Well, we did better. Phil Steele breaks down college football preview. Okay. Matt Moscona talks LSU football's outlook. I mean, they're diving into SEC, but it's like,
sure. His media days are next week.
wouldn't you rather get everybody after media days as opposed to before?
Well, in Birmingham, you can do it before, during, and after.
Well, I know.
I think, yeah, McElroy lost. I think Greg was a part of the morning show on ESPNU radio, Channel 84, and I think they got rid of him. And so I think he joined forces with what's his face in Birmingham on is that
JOX.
Jocks?
Yeah.
That station kills it. Fucking kills it. And welcome back to Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It is a pleasure to welcome Tom Rinaldi of Fox Sports to the show. Tom, hope you and yours are having a nice early summer. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me, and a happy early summer to you guys as well.
All right. You and I were at a breakfast 6 or so months ago, and
Yes.
and you all of a sudden started asking trivia questions around the room, and it's because you had a podcast series that you were working on, and apparently it's done. Tell everybody about the topic that you decided to investigate and, then divulge to all of us here.
So, David, in that conversation that we were having, I believe in Southern California in a hotel conference room, it's sort of on the cusp or into the early stages of the NFL playoffs, I had started to talk a bit about this long-form episodic podcast I've been working on for the past month. And in a room with a lot of big brains when it comes to sports, I asked the following question, or put out the following notion to see who knew about it. And this has been one of the draws, just one, to telling this story, because relatively few people seem to know about it. That in the history of Major League Baseball, and as we know, it's a very long history, more than 150 years recognized, there's only ever been one player to be murdered during a season. And the podcast is the story of that player, of that murder, and then of the trial and what happened to the man who murdered the player. That was the genesis of of our conversation, if you recall. And remarkably, if I think back right, David, one person in the room did know. But I do think overall, as listeners hear this, as they begin to go sort of jog their memories, before we even say who the player was and when it happened, obviously it's great that it's only happened once because it's such an awful event. But think for a moment, guys, about what the coverage would be if it were to happen tragically now. And the notion that somehow a few decades later, it could be apocryphal or forgotten or marginalized is stunning to me. And that's what lies at the heart of this 8-part episodic podcast entitled Wesley. The story of the life, career, and death of Lyman Wesley Bostock Jr.
How did you find where did you start to research this? Because obviously he died in September of 78. How were you able to find the information? How much time did it take to get all the information to even begin processing what you were going to do?
So and this is part of the podcast, episodic podcasts sometimes involve not just a story being told, but a peek into the process of telling them. And this podcast does that as well. I was part of telling the story, guys, 14 years ago at ESPN on the 30-year anniversary of the murder in 2008. That's what marked that anniversary. And I did the story for ESPN. It's a story that, I'm sure some people saw, but most didn't, or most have forgotten. But I had an opportunity to have an encounter with the man who killed Lyman. And that encounter has stayed with me. I won't give away too much here, guys, but one of the reasons it stayed with me, and this unfolds through the podcast series, is because I botched it badly. And it's always bothered me. That, along with the fact that there was a lot more to Lyman's story that we had time to explore in the limits and confines of a television feature. Even though, listen, the feature, I believe, is 13 plus minutes long, which, as you guys know, is a really large piece of real estate on national TV. But there's a lot more to Lyman's story that we weren't able to get into. And we have gotten into some of that with greater depth in a way that we hope is compelling to listeners and is also relevant to now, because the birth of Lyman's baseball career really begins in the unrest and the tumult of 1968, of the late 1960s. And as we say in one of the earliest episodes in the podcast, anyone who's lived through the last couple of years in our country can relate to the tumult and the chaos and the unrest of the late 1960s.
For a man who didn't live to be 30 years of age, there is quite a lot to Lyman Bostock, which is fascinating. The fact, Tom, that, this is the infancy of player movement in Major League Baseball. And he was a young guy. I don't even know if Lyman Bostock at the time he was killed had played more than 5 years in the majors. And yet he was on his second team, and not because he was bad. Okay. He was an all-star the year before, I think. Didn't he start with the Twins and he was killed as an Angel? That is correct. And you're right. Impressive there in knowing about the earlier stages of player movement and player empowerment. We don't explore this in great depth, guys, but there was a very short-lived system, a mechanism in baseball called the re-entry draft. It was short-lived and bizarre, where a player who got through his first contract or played to an expiring contract could then re-enter the draft and have teams bid on him. And that happened for Lyman. Lyman
had a fantastic second and third season, finishing in the top 5 in the American League and hitting both of those seasons in Minnesota. But he played for Calvin Griffiths, the owner there, who was notoriously penurious and somebody who would not pay players. And that did not go well in terms of negotiating style and result when Lyman, at the cusp of player movement and empowerment, was coming up against an old school ownership that was still operating under the feeling that, no, we control the players entirely. And there's some colorful anecdotes about the ownership. There's some remarkable anecdotes, guys, about Lyman's recruitment by the Yankees, Reggie Jackson being enlisted to come and try to recruit Lyman to play for Steinbrenner, New York. But ultimately, he ends up with the Angels. So that's just one part that we think resonates and is relevant, that early wave, which has now become, powerful in baseball, where obviously the pendulum has swung so significantly away from owner control to player empowerment, in particular in the MLB.
Was he close to stardom?
He was, and I think that's a very good way to say it. He was on its edge, guys. Remarkably, and this really disappointed him, he never did make an all-star team. He played 4 seasons. Lyman died at very near the very end, late in September of his 4th season. His 4th in the MLB, his 1st with the Angels. And when you think about somebody who is again, having played 4 seasons, largely as a starter, he does not have the 3,000 at-bats to qualify. He didn't get there. But his career average, 311. To put that in context, to use some of the mightiest names, I mean, that's the same career average as Jackie Robinson. I mean, it's a higher career average than some of the greatest hitters we've ever seen, like George Brett, who Brett appears in the podcast. Rod Carew, a teammate, appears in the podcast, who both say they don't believe it was a stretch to think that Lyman could have amassed 3,000 hits, that he showed the potential for a Hall of Fame career based on longevity and health. That in a way, guys, if I could maybe build an analog, a comp to a more recent player, an Ichiro type player. Yes, he could hit the ball out of the ballpark, but not often. What he could and did do was hit to every field against every style of pitcher. And he was also a very good defensive player and very fast. But his prime skill was he was just an excellent technical hitter. And this was recognized, and you hear it in the podcast, by Carew immediately, who was struck, guys, by the fact that Lyman saw Carew and immediately cast him as a mentor, and how much Carew appreciated a young player who wanted to soak up Carew's approach and knowledge. Carew laughs at the memory of Lyman saying, I appreciate you giving me all these lessons because I'm going to use them to win the batting titles that you're winning now. Right up to the point when Lyman finished 2nd behind Carew in a batting title race.
I believe it was his last year with the Twins. And I mean, he did finish 2nd. He finished 2nd by 52 points. I mean, Carew hit 388. I mean, Bostock.
Yep, well, that's pretty good.
I mean, Bostock threw a 336 on the board, and he's 50 points back. He's Tom Rinaldi of Fox, and he's put together this episodic series about the life and the tragic death of Lyman Bostock. The name of it again, Tom?
The name of it is Wesley, and it's available anywhere you would get your podcast, on Apple, on Spotify, anywhere that you would download and listen. And we really hope people will give this a listen and learn about this remarkable life, because that's the central point, not just the tragedy of his death. But with his death, guys, also comes an incredibly compelling set of storylines. That who was the man who murdered him, who didn't even know him, Lyman had never even met him. How was it that they crossed paths that night? Why did it happen to be in the murder capital of America? Why was Lyman in Gary, Indiana? Why was he there in the deadliest city in the country at the time? He had just played a game. He made the final out of the last game he ever played. Kenny Landreau, one of his teammates, several others he had invited to come back to Gary to visit with family with him. And somehow they didn't meet up. And some of those players, like Landreau, are emotional to this day, carrying a guilt, feeling that if they had gone with him, the night would have unfolded differently.
Tom Rinaldi of Fox. Tom, if we could hold you for one more segment, want to ask you one more question about the Bostock story, and then also you're covering the World Cup, and that's more than half a world away. Want to talk to you about it coming up. More with Tom Rinaldi of Fox here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
It's also good.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Entertainment writer, and he takes down this play that was written by a guy that goes to the same synagogue as them, and they have all known since he was growing up, and it's a bar mitzvah, and everybody in the church starts attacking Monk for his takedown of this thing, and it was just priceless. I hadn't laughed that hard in a while. That show got me last night. Between the funeral and that scene, I was just, anytime you can take it to a church and really annihilate things, it's good
Big
stuff.
fans.
Doesn't matter what religion
Right.
it is to me,
Yep.
David.
I hear you.
Can't believe Gronk just keeps saying no. What a jerk. It's not fair to any of us. That was about as solid as it gets. That was rock solid. I thought that was fantastic. As someone who's waited for a photo finish, I know exactly the look you were speaking of. How did I miss that birthday?
It's funny because, I'm a pacer. I do that all the time. Just sit through the whole show. Just need to get up, walk around.
Yeah, I sit here so much that my legs are tired by the time the show's over. Like, you get up and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Not tired, but stiff would be a better way of probably putting it.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller.
I'm thrilled to be rejoined once again by Tom Rinaldi of Fox. Tom, as we said before the break, want to ask you about traveling to Qatar and covering the World Cup. But first, one final question about the Lyman Bostock episodic series. Is it because it was pre-CNN, pre-ESPN that this murder, really the only one like it in major sports seemingly in the last 45 years, is basically unknown to 95+% of sports fans?
Here, I think that's such a good question. And I think there are a series of answers as to why. I think that what you just suggested is one answer. This precedes CNN. This precedes ESPN. It precedes what we've come to see as the notion of a news cycle. The second thing is that while it absolutely made national news, it was covered by all the major networks. And I mean, the Gary Police Department received calls from places like Japan and Brazil and Argentina. It was that big a story. 5 days later, I believe, Pope John Paul I died. And that became an overwhelming global story, of course. And a year later, Thurman Munson would tragically die in a plane crash. And I think both within the confines of baseball and then within the confines of headlines, both of those two events probably coalesce to push Lyman's story more toward the margins. That and the fact that he was only completing his fourth season. He had gotten a lot of notoriety, guys, prior to this. Probably the thing people knew Lyman for best, and this is explored in the podcast. And I'd ask you guys this, if you could think of any analog to this, that when Lyman signed with the Angels at one of the biggest contracts in all of baseball at the time, he went into the worst slump of his career. Gene Autry owned the Angels at the time, the famous singing cowboy. And Lyman went to Autry and to Bavasi, the general manager at the time, And he said he didn't want a salary for the month because he hadn't earned it. Maybe we could look at that as cynical in some way through today's lens, but it wasn't even known until someone else mentioned it, and then it became a matter that the press reported on. And the team still paid him. Lyman took the money and donated the entire month's salary to charity because he just didn't feel he earned it. He came out of, he was batting under 150 at the end of the first month of his career as an Angel. And he had driven his average above 300 late in the summer. He, I believe, was batting about 288 or 290 when he was killed. I don't know a story of another athlete that's ever done that. It said, you know what, I'm not earning my pay and I don't want it. And if you're going to give it to me, I'm going to give it to charity because I'm not performing. That's Lyman Bostock.
Hell, another player. Could you imagine how the players union would freak out hearing something like that right now?
No, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. The World Cup coming up in November and December. So much to dive into here. But for you, for an event like this in the World Cup, when you start researching, I'm curious. I'm more curious of what you have to do to prepare for this, because it's not like you're preparing for the Packers playing the Cowboys. I mean, it's two teams, two rosters. This is the entire world. There are so many stories. How do you dissect through this to find the features that you're going to want to do, that people are going to want to hear about? There's so much to dive into. How do you attempt to get into the pool?
Well, to no one's surprise, guys, right? It begins with our own team. And I say our because it's our national team, you know, the U.S. men's national team. What are some of the stories that are compelling as a group, the history of the U.S. men's national team, and then some of the individual stories? And, you know, to no one's surprise, you guys know this from the passion you have, the experience you have in covering the variety of sport that you do. Most of those involved who get to the highest level have great stories. They have compelling tales to tell. And that's the case with Gio Reyna or Christian Pulisic or Aronson or, you know, any of the other number of players who we could name on the U.S. team. Then there's the history of the U.S. team, the fact that we already have group play. How about the fact that, you know, we draw Iran as part of our group? The history of those two nations, the history of when the two teams have played each other prior. England is in our group. No shortage of stories to tell there, of course. Again, about the times that the two teams have faced each other. The history shared between the two nations. Wales also in the group. So that's where I think, guys, it begins. It begins with having the country get to know the history of this team and the journeys of its players and its coaches. Beyond that, there are these global superstars that are so well known, but not that well known in America, and trying to introduce people to those players. And then finally, the thing that I'm just as excited about as any is this is the largest event in the world. Not sporting event, guys. Event in the world. Any category, any precinct of passion, it's the biggest. I know we love to label the titles we give out here in America as world championships, but no one is raising an eyebrow about calling it the World Cup, because that's what it is. And I'm thrilled about that. I've been able to go to World Cups on the margins, but never as a host domestic broadcaster. And I just think it will be an incredible opportunity.
Well, in listening to you, Tom, I thought two things. One, I'm guessing, quite frankly, it might have played a role into why it is you went to Fox. I mean, let's face it, they can offer some things that the four-letter network couldn't offer. And I'm just wondering, is there any way when you work on your England USA story, can you work Meghan and Harry into it?
They might just come off. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. There's a possibility, yeah, for sure. But anyone, I think, would be excited, whether even if you're not a pure soccer fan or you haven't grown up with it as a part of your sports life the way we do with the NFL and the NBA and baseball and hockey or golf and tennis, whatever it may be, I just, the pure spectacle and scale of it is breathtaking, is awe-inspiring. And it's a great, I think, just an incredible opportunity to be able to go and here to the other side of the world and cover this event.
Tom, we got about 30 seconds. In all seriousness, are you going to cover the NFL early in the season and then travel to Qatar, or are you going to be all soccer and then show up around Christmas?
No, I'll be unfortunately inflicting myself upon the A crew through all the way up until we leave in November. I'll be back for our huge Thanksgiving week, where we have the Cowboys on Thursday. Saturday we have Ohio State, Michigan. Sunday we're Chiefs, Rams, I believe, and then I'll go back until the conclusion of the event in Qatar.
Well, Tom, thanks for agreeing to do this. We really appreciate it. If we don't get to talk between now and then, safe travels. All the best to you and your family, and hopefully we can stay in touch.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Tom Rinaldi of Fox, and the episodic podcast series is titled Wesley.
Tom Rinaldi, and you bust in with Harry and Meghan, huh?
Come on, it
if
was
he
funny.
puts it in the story, you'll be so proud of yourself.
I will. Absolutely. I have to admit, I don't know how you don't work it in the story, though. But that's me. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening.
FL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hi,
Hey, man.
Seth. Oh, what do you mean no?
Hi.
No me.
Hey.
Shaking me off like I'm throwing a curveball.
No, I was waving. Hi.
Seth-
Hi.
Seth on. There he is. Hi, Seth.
That wasn't a wave. That was a hi. Hi.
Oh, I thought that was a wave
But
off.
it was like a hello, but I don't have the microphone, so I couldn't say hello. So where's my microphone while I'm doing the hi? It's a
Gotcha.
multitasking hi.
Seth, I'm guessing you've probably already finished season 4 of Mrs. Maisel, but I'm watching it right now. That the episode last.
Maisel.
Yeah. Marvelous Miss Maisel. You watch
that
that?
Didn't come out this week.
No, I'm catching up.
Oh, I saw it like months ago.
The episode where he gets slandered for writing the review in the Village Voice and the Bob Mitzvah.
God. That's
I between that and the woman going to the other funeral and talking to the people, I'm sure she was a wonderful woman. I haven't laughed that hard last night. I laughed out loud out of whatever, 48 minutes of a show. Yeah. I had to laugh out loud for 10 minutes last night.
It's really good. It's really good. I got nervous because I was like, there's so much right now in terms of content. I was like, another season of Maisel? Oh my, no, I don't have time for that.
It's because I want to start watching this show Bear that I've heard is really good with the guy from Shameless. That's the food, the restaurant thing.
Yep.
And I've heard really good things about that, but it's like I'm
tapped out. There's so much.
And I'm way behind on stuff. I'm watching Better Call Saul right now and trying to watch that during the day. I've got 3 shows with my wife I watch.
My wife and I are watching Only Murders in the Building.
Is it funny?
Steve Martin and Martin.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
very funny.
You like
very
Better
good.
Call Saul?
Love it.
I've been thinking about watching it.
And this is the last thing, right?
Yeah.
Better Call Saul is fantastic.
Is the Murderers one? Is it violent?
No. It's like a comedy where some guy dies in their building, and Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Selena Gomez decide to make a podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
That's me.
Because
Miller and Moulton.
Gotcha.
Thanks.
Tina Fey plays a successful podcaster.
Okay.
It's very fun. It's funny. It's fine.
So you going to be okay if the Devils pay Johnny Gaudreau over $10 million a year?
It's not my money. Bring him in. He's a Jersey boy.
South Jersey.
I don't care.
Okay.
It's all the state. We vote for the same governor.
I understand.
Just bring him in.
Usually a South
We
Jersey.
have more cap space than the Flyers. Flyers suck.
That's for the Devils. But yes, you have more cap space. Come on, be honest now. I mean, you're going through a downtime, but Johnny Gaudreau and, get a damn goalie. Frederick Anderson.
Goalie. That's the one. That's the only thing I'm interested in. I know everybody's talking about Gaudreau, but get a goalie.
And Kimbrel signing with Washington, it looks like.
Who?
The
Kadri.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, that's what Bob McKenzie reported.
Nazem Kadri's going to go with the Caps?
No, the goaltender.
Oh, Darcy Kepner.
Kepner, rather. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, because Kadri's a free agent.
Yeah, that's not. No, I mean, McKenzie had a handful of guys that he's.
My relatives in England are annoyed with me because Arsenal is playing exhibitions in Baltimore and Orlando, and I'm not going to either.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Why are you not going to Baltimore?
Well, because it's a Formula E race, and I have iHeart.
Oh, well, I mean.
Where's the Formula E race?
It's in Brooklyn. It's in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn on the water that overlooks like the Statue of Liberty. It's really cool.
Now, are you covering that?
Well, I have 3 interviews scheduled, 2 for Sports with Friends, 1 for Hall of Justice. And then I was invited to the hospitality room or wherever.
Hoi, hoi, boy.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Good last hour. Bob Harig from across the pond previewing the Open Championship. A couple segments with Tom Rinaldi that we taped late last week. Rinaldi's podcast series is available widespread beginning on Monday. Our buddy Seth Everett, who's had Tom Rinaldi on his Sports with Friends podcast. Also, Hall of Justice and Tech Stream. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Hi, Seth.
Hi. I remember when Tom told me off air about the project, and he said, "Did you know there was a player in 1978 that got
Was
murdered?" And but he wouldn't tell me the name, so he just wanted me to guess. So I started just guessing. I was like, Oscar Gamble?
Stop it. Come on. We'd remember that. That fro alone, it would have been memorable. But it is
no, it was a great interview. I heard it. It was good job.
It is amazing that that is not widely known.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Major League Baseball player who was an hour and a half away from being a star player, who was playing in damn near the Los Angeles market and was murdered. And nobody's aware of that, who's 50 years or older.
Yeah, I had no clue. I mean, I'm 52. Right. I'll be 53 in August and had no idea this story ever happened. And, you know, someone of the age, that's when I'm collecting baseball cards. That's when I mean, that's the most important sport in the world. That's all we're doing. We're reading box scores when we come home from work, and it's not there.
So one of the reasons why we wanted to have Tom on. Did I say this correctly? That you and your buddy who do Tech Stream, is your episode this week basically on the future of radio?
Yeah, it's on the future of the AM and the FM band, and whether or not streaming will replace it. You know, it's by no means the end of the spoken word. You know, shows like this will continue, but what is the impact of technology? What is the impact in cars? You know, it's a really fascinating conversation, and he comes from a music perspective, and I come from the sports radio perspective. So it's a really interesting aspect. The AM band is just a thing that continues. You know, these licenses just exist over the air, and you know, there was a time when radio signals had multi uses. For example, pagers. When we all had pagers, that would be used through radio waves. But now the internet has taken all of that, and so what is the future of radio? Yeah,
I'm curious. Cool did you guys disagree? Because, you know, from a music perspective, I think radio is not what it once was because people can get music so many different ways. Our world and sports talk and news talk and things like that still have methods. I'm just curious, was there a conflict in the two directions that you two came from of what the future of these two are, or do they coexist?
No, it was more coexisting. I think the big thing is that, you know, if you look at the numbers, radio as an industry has downsized, but to start talking about its funeral is premature, and that's kind of the idea. You know, these radio stations still are profitable, but what's happened is because of the advent and the audience numbers are down, a lot of radio companies have shrank their budgets and their spending and those kinds of things, and you can start to see it. Well, pleasant company not included.
Well, Seth, and I believe we've talked about this, maybe not all together in one topic on air, but my big concern is that people who run radio companies are going, because they've already started, they're going to do to radio what the people who own newspapers have done to newspapers.
Yeah.
In which, and we've seen it in local television with sports. I mean, it's become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, you know, we stop covering sports, and then our research says that less and less people watch our news for sports. Well, yeah, you stop covering it. Okay, so now you're going to what? Stop covering it more? And the same thing happened with newspapers. You start whittling down your local sports department, and then sure enough, you get reader response, which is less and less. I read the paper for sports. Well, yeah, you've stopped covering it. So they've gone elsewhere to get their sports. That's my concern with this medium. Don't become a self-fulfilling prophecy. In fact, I would argue the future of this medium has to be local. Otherwise, you could board it up.
Right. What has to continue to happen is the cars have to have the car manufacturers have to have incentive to put radios in cars. Right now, they do that because of long-term deals with Sirius and XM. And when I say Sirius and XM, some of these deals are grandfathered in, like there are car dealers that have, car companies that have deals with Sirius radio, not XM, and XM radio and not Sirius. And what originally took place, that's why that company got named what it is. Like, it's a dumb name. It's just merging the names. It's like Moulton Spring. And the idea that you can look at the future of technology, will internet companies start to take over that console in your car? And where does that leave AM and FM? That's the interesting part of it.
And Tesla, Elon Musk was one of the first ones to come out that he's not putting radios in cars anymore. And you have more of the electronic car companies, etc. So, what is the law?
Has he been in the news at all?
No, not at all. He's not doing anything. I think he's just sitting out the rest of this year.
He only wishes.
Yeah, exactly. Any employees? But from the standpoint of the car manufacturer, Seth, is there anything that leads you to indicate that in the next 5 years, 10 years, or shorter than that, there's going to be no radios in cars?
No, there'll be audio modules. That's what TechStream was talking about. There'll be a form of an audio module. It's just like how now, if you have an iPhone, you can pretty much listen to any radio station you've ever conceptualized. Like, almost every radio station in existence has some kind of an online streaming component. What I believe is it's going to be that kind of apparatus in cars. And my gut feeling is it's not going to be one company that makes it. Dodge will make their own, and Ford will make their own, and Chevrolet will make their own. And that's how I think this will go. And I think that Tesla has been the model of that by saying we're not going to do Apple CarPlay, which I think is idiotic. And that would be a reason, literally, if money was not an object, I wouldn't buy a Tesla because of that.
Not because
Apple CarPlay is synonymous with everything in my world, my schedule, my everything, my calendar. It's perfect. And to have to get a separate software platform, that's kind of ridiculous. And so on top of that, that's where I think the future. There's always going to be something to listen to when you get into your car. It might not look like what we're used to.
He's Seth Everett. His 3 podcasts are Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and TechStream. You can follow Seth on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Ironically, we're talking about his podcast, which has either been released or is about to be released this week, is TechStream podcast.
Yeah.
Usually that's the one that barely gets a mention. I mean, after all, I'm a part of the discussion. I mean, there's a reason not to talk about TechStream. I'm a technological idiot.
Sports with Friends and Hall of Justice are interesting too.
What do you have on Sports with Friends?
We have the Brittany Griner case. TJ Quinn has been the preeminent reporter for ESPN covering this thing since it happened basically in February. And there is so much information that I did not know. And I've been following this thing. TJ is fantastic.
Like what?
The timeline for when her release can be, what the calculated, the attorneys suggested to the WNBA commissioner and to the family on what to do. And a lot about this idea. Now, I'm not trying to get political, but because she's still in jail, Joe Biden's not doing anything. And that's not true. And, regardless of whether you like him and whoever the sitting president is at the time, they're doing everything they can. And it's a very tenuous situation. It's a horrific situation, but I find it gripping and fascinating. TJ covered it brilliantly.
Is there anyone in the discussion who mentioned the fact that she did do something wrong? Now, she does not deserve what is happening.
They can't prove one way or the other that that's true. And in the other cases of the 2 other people, the Reed, the guy who was released a couple of months ago, evidence was planted in his luggage. And in the case of Whalen, Paul Whalen, the other guy, the ex-military guy, who is no angel, by the way, but he had his bags, the drugs were planted on his stuff. They'll never know until Brittany Griner is released. But the United States has said that she is unlawfully detained. So regardless of whether she did something wrong or not, no one knows that but Brittany Griner.
So they planted drugs on Whalen and called him a spy?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we knew about he was being referred to as a spy. I didn't know about the drugs.
Yeah, and it's a situation where, what TJ it does a really remarkable job is he explains what he knows, how he knows it, and it's to the best of his knowledge. Usually when you have a guest on a show, you say, "Oh, he covers this completely." Well, he's not covering it completely. He's not there, and he explains the decision ESPN made to whether or not to go to Russia. The other idea was, how much should he be talking about this? How much is SportsCenter putting him on? How much is ESPN Radio putting him on? Because it really is a Debbie Downer kind of story. And because of that, do you shovel it under the rug and do you not do it? The whole thing is fascinating to me.
Well, Seth, it's funny you say that because we didn't bring it up for the first time until 2 weeks ago. All right. That we just thought that our audience was not interested.
Yep.
And 2 weeks ago, for whatever reason, I think certain events, and I think it was the fact that now they're talking about 10 years, and it was like, oh, we got to talk about this. And then also she went public through her representatives. And so in the last 2 weeks, we brought it up. And then LeBron, obviously, last night with the preview of his next edition of his TV show, and he commenting about it, and that's newsworthy. So we brought it up early on today's show.
Yeah, I was interested. I just the story was so fluid. You know how a podcast can get outdated really quickly. I just thought that once she pled guilty, now they said it could be another 4 weeks before she's sentenced, and then after she's sentenced, that's when the negotiation can begin. And once the negotiation begins, basically TJ said it's either going to be a couple of months or 4 years. That's his prediction. That's his educated prediction. And he hopes it's sooner rather than later.
All right, we got Text Stream down. We got Sports with Friends down. That leaves us with Hall of Justice. What do you got?
Thor, Love and Thunder, the review of the new film starring Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman. There was a really funny joke. Supposedly the director, Taika Waititi, who has worked on Star Wars and is making another Star Wars project, went up to Natalie Portman and asked her if she had any interest in being in Star Wars. She's like, hi, I was the queen. I'm Luke and Leia's mother. So, it's a pretty good review. It's an okay movie. There's a lot of mistakes. It's a lot of forced humor. And, we provide alternatives to how they could have made it a little bit more superhero-y.
Tough to look younger and be the age that you are than Natalie Portman. I mean, she's been around for a while, and so because of it, I think we would all guess. But I mean, if you were to look at her, she looks in her 20s, doesn't she? Late 20s?
Well, in this movie, when she has the hammer, she becomes 6 feet tall. And how they did that to have her be 6 feet tall up against him is some really cool photography. And it looks like if you had an iPhone camera, like you zoomed in on the left and not the right, and had her not as tall as Chris Hemsworth, but close. And it's pretty amazing. And then when she doesn't have the hammer, she's like this little mousy, sized person. The whole thing is really, really well done. The production value is always well done. It's always the story that I rip.
Because she's 41, by the way. And needless to say, she doesn't look. She's been around a long time, been in everything, but does not look her age, that's for sure. All right, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice text stream, Seth Everett. All right, good luck with your Devils getting Johnny Gaudreau.
Johnny Gaudreau, Jersey's own.
And if you can get a goalie, you know what? It might be an interesting team next year.
We might have something this year. Wouldn't that be fun?
Would for you. All right. Especially when your daughter comes home from camp and you're watching those games together.
Yeah, they got some goalie from Washington, and she wrote me in a letter. She said, I hope that's good. I said, I hope so.
Seth Everett. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Seth, all the best.
See you guys.
And thanks to everybody for listening today. Bob Harig, Tom Rinaldi, Seth Everett, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I just got a text from the producer for a show on Mad Dog Radio that airs from 9 to noon. And he goes, hey, thanks for agreeing to being the backup today. If you're needed, I'll give you a call and let you know. And I just texted him and I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. No one has reached out to me about this at all. And if they did, I would tell them what I'm telling you now, that I'm live on the air till 10 a.m. for my local show, and I won't get home till 10:30 or so. So I could be available from 10:30 to noon in an emergency.
I was going to say, you want to replay the 6th? You can take it out right now.
But what do you want to do?
Well, we still haven't talked about the new NBA rule.
Damn it, Mark. I hate when you're right. About something so big.
So that can be the short segment. I don't know what we're doing here.
Don't laugh. We haven't talked about all day. Gronk saying, no,
Yeah.
I'm done.
And I think it's National French Fry Day.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. Now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our poll question, which we've not talked about much.
Well, it's our charm, David. As
It
you like to
is.
say, we put one up and then forget about it.
It is.
But my daughter has taken up the drums. And my wife owes an incredible debt of gratitude to the Moulton family. Because all of them are responsible, David, his wife, and daughter, for giving my daughter her first drum set. And they are electric drums, which don't make noise, which
Right.
has both David and I a little bothered.
Has me bothered a lot. I mean, come on. That's more than just part of the charm. I mean, parents have to be subjected to the torture of their child playing an instrument and playing it loudly and poorly throughout the house or apartment.
And now about what you hear is, that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
come on.
literally about it.
It's ridiculous.
If you could even hear that noise through the microphone. So, in honor of my daughter taking up the drums, what is the worst instrument for noise that your child could play?
Right.
Drums is leading trumpet closely, violin in third. Not one person's voted for the guitar.
That's interesting.
They're probably thinking acoustic guitar. Because my daughter also has an electric guitar. Her hands aren't big enough, but she can still turn the amp on really loud.
There you go.
And rip what is not a power chord. It's just 6 strings really loudly. Over and over again.
Now we're talking.
Exactly.
Now that's
no particular sound, just noise.
That's part of the experience.
Bingo.
floridasportsnetwork.com. Vote accordingly. I voted I think I voted trumpet. And the reason you have to be able to have an instrument in which you can play something off key. You have to be able to miss a note in which you literally, it's painful. Oh, please stop. That sort of deal. That the drums is just a lot of noise. But I mean, with a trumpet, with a violin, with a guitar, right, you can miss. and it's a whole different level of audio pain. So that's our poll question, floridasportsnetwork.com. A few things that we have mentioned and a couple that we haven't here. One that we haven't, Gronk yesterday said, no, I'm done.
I'm done. I don't care if TB12 calls.
Right.
This is over.
I'm done with football, he said. He's 33, and he's like, no, man, I had my run. I'll see you in Canton. So, I mean, think about the class that he'll be in as to who it is who's retired and what have you. So he's done. I'm done with football. Even if Tom calls, I won't come back.
What are you doing to us, Gronk? Why do you have to act like that?
You're just mad because we voted. All right.
No, I love Gronk. How can you not?
How can you not?
I mean, I get how you don't like Tom Brady and can respect his skills, and I get all, but Gronk's done nothing to make him anything but likable.
All-time great at his position, and yet did it while having fun on and off the field, but never did anything that wasn't just playful.
I mean, he's got to play. His mom lives in the 239.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it, 4 years ago that he was at an Everblades game playing dodgeball?
Right.
During the intermission?
Right.
He's at a minor league hockey game of the local team. Here, for those of you that are streaming the show, is the Florida Everblades. And he was at an Everblades game, and somehow they convinced him to come out onto the ice during the intermission to play dodgeball. He played dodgeball like he was a senior in high school throwing balls at the freshmen. He had the same enthusiasm with that he does with everything else.
Felipe's not feeling well, and his voice is awful. So he took to the Twitch chat room to comment and say Gronk is like the Shaq of the NFL. I like that.
I think that's a great call. And I think his role is going to be like Shaq post-career. I would, if Fox paid all that money or attempted to pay all that money to Brady, I would love to see Gronk replacing somebody on one of the studio shows. I think he'd be phenomenal.
Do you think Gronk could criticize somebody, though? I mean, have you ever heard Gronk say,
I don't know if he'd criticize somebody, but I think he could criticize a play. I think he could sit there and talk about why. I think he could easily look at film and, or do a story and say, here's where they made a mistake. Here's what I would have done. Here's what we did. So, yeah, I think he could.
It is a interesting phase that's going on in sports television right now. You've got some shows that are well received, that still do very well in the ratings, yet the panelists on them are getting older. And you realize that, wow, they haven't played. I mean, Shaq played within the last 10 years barely. I mean, he was not what he was, but, Shaq played 10 years ago. Barkley hasn't played a game this century. I don't know if Kenny Smith played a game in this century. And yet, clearly, that's far and away the best show. Barkley has said, when my contract's up, I'm not going to renew, and I'll walk away. We'll see. They clearly have Draymond Green as one of those that they're lining up to replace him. They also have Candace Parker and a few others. I think Turner is already looking to the future. They know that Shaq could walk away at any moment. He may have to if he gets into, ownership beyond that very small piece he had of the Sacramento Kings. I mean, if he gets what he wants with the Orlando Magic, he's not going to be allowed to be on that show anymore.
He's not going to get what he wants with the Orlando Magic.
Probably not right away.
But it doesn't mean he's not going to get another team.
Right. But in the NFL, you've got an interesting situation. Like, Jimmy Johnson's in his mid-70s.
How old's Bradshaw?
And Bradshaw last played in 1983. Now, Howie Long played into the early 90s and played at a high level, but still, Howie hasn't played in 30 years. Jimmy hasn't coached a game this century, and Jimmy wants to retire.
I mean, Howie's 62. He's the youngest on the set. He looks, younger than that because he's in great shape and good-looking guy and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, of the longtime guys, but, this year, Michael Strahan hasn't played a game in 15 years. I mean, he was on that 07 Giants team, not the 2011 team. He was on the 07 Giants team. This is 15 seasons since Strahan played a game.
But the audience, Strahan's 50. The audience, that is, he's right in
Yes,
the middle
no
of what
doubt.
the audience is. That's perfect.
No doubt.
Younger people can still remember his playing days. Anybody else is of the same age, if you know what I mean.
I think the big fear for Fox is, does he just one day decide he wants to cut back on his workload? Like right now, he's not. He's a workaholic, and he is cashing the checks. Wow, is he cashing the checks? He's doing Good Morning America. He's doing Fox in the fall on the weekends, and he's doing game shows. I mean, he is making his money, and great for him. But yeah, Jimmy's in his mid to upper 70s. Terry's in his early 70s. And if they leave, Howie is tight with them. I don't know if Howie stays. He may. It's great money, and it's easy money in the grand scheme of things, but those three are tight.
And it's why the show works.
Yes, and Jimmy has talked about openly wanting to retire, and Fox keeps basically talking him back in to do another year. Like, I wonder, will this Super Bowl year for Fox, will this be Jimmy's swan song?
Because as we've talked about, Jimmy is not there for the 4:00 games. He's there for the 12 to 1 or 11 to 1 show, and that's it.
He flies in, they fly him in privately on Saturday, and he's there for, the production meeting, does his thing early on Sunday, and then they get him home as, midnight-ish. And then he, lives the good life for 5 days again. And they do it all over again. And he doesn't even want to do that. But those guys are tight. The money's good. He's continuing to do it. How much longer does Bradshaw do it? When do they transition that show? Like, they're working in, were they going to hire Drew Brees? Doesn't look like it, but they've hired Sean Payton. If you're Fox, do you look at Gronk and go, that's a guy who could be a star of this show going forward?
It's where I would go. Sean Payton, I think, is going to coach again. I wouldn't be at all investing in Sean Payton because I'm going to lose him.
I agree. I also don't know how good he'll be.
No idea. But even if you think he's going to be good, how long are you going to have him for?
Meanwhile, Gronk's 33. If he seems interested and you get him, quite frankly, it's the same thing with the CBS show that Pat Kerwin's a part of behind the scenes. I love Phil Simms. I'm a Giants fan. I love him. I love him even more than Eli. But Phil Simms last year was 1993. Boomer Esiason played into the mid-90s. Neither one of those guys have played a game in the 20th century. Bill Cowher's last year coaching was 06. Now he's a Hall of Fame coach, and, he's got a long shelf life if you want it. But notice they worked Nate Burleson into the show now. When does the next wave of NFL guys, like, I don't know how much of the PGA megacast that Joe Buck did with America's caddy Michael Collins, but they had Travis Kelce on. He was unbelievably good. Wow, was he good? Like, if you were a network boss, you're watching him and you're like, oh my goodness, can I do what Fox did with Brady? Is there a way I can hire him now and just say, hey, whenever you're done, play as long as you want? He was that good. And I'm, certain sports curious as to, who's the next wave? Don't you think one of those networks?
And now the difference is one of the, look, you will always get guys because the money's so huge, but all of these guys that are now are making, the sums they are making are astronomical compared to what they made as players. The players that are retiring, the Kelce's, the Gronks, have all done really well. They don't necessarily need this, but the money's ridiculous, so they'll take it.
Yeah. Quite frankly, the networks are throwing around really good yearly NFL salary money. And it's a lot less contact.
Unless you're on ESPN.
Well, got to work.
Because I don't know if you caught any of that Schefter story. There seemed to be a little bit of contact going on there.
Yeah, it's funny, Wojnarowski and now Schefter. You don't think there's also a little bit of jealousy going on?
Just a touch from the high-priced reporters.
I mean, Schefter makes $9 million a year. Wojnarowski makes like 5 to 6. You don't think there's a little jealousy going on?
None whatsoever, because nobody went on the record with any of their comments about anyone.
Funny. A lot of unnamed sources. Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts. It's about 25 minutes away. Thanks for being with us, Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Give it a go. All right, give it a crack for us. Be careful. But try and, give yourself 15 or 20 feet and you're happy enough. Well, try and give it a go. All right, give it a crack for us. Be careful of that putter. This is as tough as it gets. Get up. Oh, wow. Wow, you put on a show for us today. You'll take that? I don't think you can. 10 quid says you don't.
I love the Chiron. Oh, and he walked up and made the putt with his I love the Chiron. Rory McIlroy, champion golfer, 2014. So great. Here's what I'm wondering. Where in Florida do you think he is?
Probably Tampa. I think he'll live there. Unless he comes here.
Doesn't suck. Well, I can't imagine with his young model girlfriend there, they'd come live here. kick a few things around, including your big NBA rule change?
Yes. Hang on, let me get it up.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Rinaldi. It's unbelievable.
Jesus.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Miss any part of the show? Bob Harig, live from St. Andrews. Tom Rinaldi for 2 segments. Seth Everett. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download our podcasts. NHL free agency begins in about 2.5 hours, noon.
Which means you'll need to find the NHL network on your cable systems.
I don't know
if they even cover it.
They're so bad. You might as well.
Is it worse than NBA TV?
Yeah, it is. NBA TV actually nightly, their wraparound show when they pop in and out of games. I mean, I think MLB Networks
does the best job,
but the NBA TV one's pretty good. And the other thing about NBA TV is they're willing to call someone out. I mean, they've got people on there who are willing to go, come on, you got to do better than that, or so-and-so needs an upgrade here. And I'm not always trying to be negative, but to me, you need to be honest. I really think I understand a lot in life right now with people are lining themselves up with people who think like them, but I think the sports fan's a little different. That seems to be where we are now in our politics. Can't handle anybody who's in the group who isn't going to fall in line lockstep. Sports fans are different. We're used to debating. I mean, come on, you could love you've got a really good friend, Tom Buckley, who's a Yankees fan.
Right.
Okay, but we could put Tom in the room right now, and I could look at they're 35 games above 500. They're on damn near a historic pace. They could be the best regular season Yankees team ever. But I could look at them right now and go, you need a left fielder. You sure this bullpen's going to hold up? And I don't just mean because they blew a 3-0 lead last night. I mean, Chapman seems to be a mess. You're relying on 2 guys who have never been in this spot before. It's World Series or bust for that franchise. I mean, you could pick apart a team that's on pace to win 115 games.
Oh, and I think, there's a few Yankee fans that he's one of them. He'd be right there with you.
Right.
It wouldn't be a debate over what's wrong. It would be a debate of what you need to fix what's wrong.
Right.
And
that's
that concept in and of itself has been lost upon America.
Right. And that's how sports is.
Right.
And I think it's why it's different than other aspects of our society. And that's why I feel that, listen, college sports is where the homers go. That the college fan has said, we don't want your honesty. We get that enough in other aspects of our life. I can get it with who I root for on Sundays. Give me the honesty. The Georgia Bulldog fans, be honest with me about the Falcons, not about the Dogs.
And if you're going to be honest with me about the Dogs, I just want the positive stuff.
Right. The stuff that I believe.
Right.
That's the kind of honesty that I want. Right. That seems to be the college football fan. But in the other sports, especially professional sports, I think you need to be honest.
Do you think that'll change over the college football fan as we professionalize it by the day?
No. I think it's going to take a long time. I think it's going to take a generation. I think by 2040-ish, yes, but not right away.
You may be onto something, because as the kid was here for a week, and he and I were fighting over the Phil Steele book at times.
Right.
And he goes, he's a big Georgia fan, went right to the Georgia stuff, and he looked and he said, yeah, he's right. Our linebacking core is awful this year. And I'm glad he pointed that out. And I went, oh, wow.
Right. That's okay.
Because he looked at their defense, and apparently the D-line, even though you don't know the names, they think,
yes,
based on the recruits, that they're not going to lose a whole, even though you won't recognize the names like you did a year ago.
They think they're 60.
They're pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Linebacking, on the other hand, is not the same case. So I was actually impressed when he read. He goes, well, he thinks about the same thing of our linebackers as I do. They're not very good.
I also think the younger fan appreciates the honesty more. I think they want it more. Don't BS me. Come on now. There's got to be a reason we went 7-5. We can't be, as great as you're saying we are. We went 7-5. I mean, come on. Why? Anyway. But NHL free agency, Johnny Gaudreau is leaving Calgary. He announced that late yesterday. He's a 28-year-old winger. He had 100 points, 40 goals, and he's an exciting player. And it looks as if he's a Jersey guy. It looks as if he's heading back, if not to the Devils, then to the Flyers or somebody in that neck of the woods. Penguins kept Malkin late yesterday, 4 years. Same deal they gave Letang.
Man, oh man, they gave Letang and Malkin a boatload of money. And you and I talked about this more off air than on. I don't know if this is Crosby.
I think it is. I think Crosby, called upstairs to Ron Hextall and said, listen, you're new here. I want to play with him the rest of my career. I don't know what to say. We're really tight. They are. Apparently they are. And I think Sid said, listen, we've lost 5 consecutive years in the first round. If I'm going to lose in the first round, I'd rather lose with Malkin. Penguins have not won a playoff series since they won their last cup.
Yes.
Same with the Caps. This is 4 straight years that the Caps have lost in the first round. Now, they've lost some heartbreaking first-round series, but I'm just saying. They won the Cup in 2018 against Vegas, haven't won a playoff series since. It's interesting. Now, the Caps kept their old guard together. It hasn't worked the last couple of years. Penguins doubling down on the old guard.
Yeah, they're going to have to find a lot more pieces, and they don't have any money to do it, so it will be interesting.
NBA news. Donovan Mitchell apparently is back on the trade market. Man, you got, 5 players and 4 draft picks for Rudy Gobert? What the hell are you going to have to give up for Donovan Mitchell or Kevin Durant? I mean, my goodness. That's the problem with the Gobert trade. And you have to deal with the same GM for Donovan Mitchell that Minnesota dealt with for the Gobert trade. I mean, you could see teams out there going, Danny Ainge, I can't give you any more.
I don't even have that many draft picks.
I don't have any more to give you, literally. So that's out there. But
NBA even added a rule over the night, too. Or at least they're going to.
What they do.
I've been trying to get you on this for 2 hours. I thought this would excite you. Anything you knew. Well, the reason I brought it up is that when they're stopping, they want to, it's a transition take foul. So when a guy's got a fast break and they just foul him to eliminate it, to prevent the easy two, they're going to give him a free throw and the ball.
Okay, great.
But they're not doing it. None of these rules will be in place in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Oh, that's absurd. That's absurd. By the way, I want that rule to be the rule in the final 60 seconds for both college basketball and the NBA for the intentional fouling.
Yeah. What's obvious is that the NBA will never do what you're talking about. They have no interest in stopping the fouling at end of games to try to let a team back into a game.
And the reason why, to me, it's more volatile in the NBA is because you can advance the ball 70 feet. I mean, in college, yeah, okay, you don't give them the ball back. Well, they at least got to go 94 feet. I mean, it's harder. It's more time.
And I got you. But what they said, and by making sure this doesn't apply at the end of the fourth quarter, is that they like that. They like these games to drag out.
It's 239 night at the Trop.
That's right.
They're back to what it looked like the pitching matchup was going to be when the series started. It looks like they've gone back to it. It's Winkowski for the Red Sox from Estero High School against Shane McClanahan, the pride of Cape Coral. Righty against lefty. Winkowski, the righty for the Red Sox, McClanahan, the lefty for the Rays. Literally, two young men who grew up and played their high school ball in Lee County, pitching against one another in the major leagues for two playoff teams right now. And two teams that I think most fans think will end up in the playoffs at the end of the season. How about that? Yet Sale pitched last night.
And he looked great.
He did. 72 pitches, 5 innings. Yeah. And he got stronger, actually, as the game went on. He was asked afterwards, he goes, hey, how was your stuff? Was it close to your best? He went, not even close. So how about that? Winkowski against McClanahan tonight at the Trop, game 3 of the 4-gamer, Rays and Red Sox.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By far.
There's your red and white background again there over.
There you go.
The other guy looks like he's in a hotel room.
Yes.
Looks like the Moulton shot. He's in a hotel room somewhere.
He's in Vegas.
Must be in Vegas doing summer league, right?
God, 6:30 in the morning. Man. Where did Kevin Weeks? I think Kevin Weeks had I think he had Colorado's goalie going to Edmonton. Oh no, Jack Campbell. I'm told Jack Campbell, 5 years, $5 million per with Edmonton, is what he said. He tweeted that out like middle of the night. Hey, Cam Talbot to Ottawa for Philip Gustafson. Oh. The Leafs should trade Marner. Up some salary room.
Pittsburgh might miss the playoffs next year. I'm telling you right now.
Toronto never made Jack Campbell an offer. Anderson was more than good enough in that series against Tampa Bay.
If you want, I'll reach out to Jimmy Brown. I think he knows. I know he knows the kid that was drafted by the Devils here locally. See if I can get a number to get him on in the local hour.
Second rounder.
Was he second rounder?
Second round.
Fourth or fifth?
No, at least they said that on. I saw it on the local news yesterday. They had actually a soundbite with him through Zoom. I think they got it from another news outlet. They said he was a second rounder.
Maybe I thought it was later than that, but
first the junior Everblade kid.
Yeah.
First one ever drafted, right?
Yes. Oh, you're right. 46th pick. I just saw the 4.
You know, I wondered about Trocheck.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Felipe taking one for the team in a big way today. We don't have much of a depth chart. He ain't feeling well, and he has toughed one out.
Hate to say it, it's been a really pleasant show.
Stop it.
No dancing, no singing. This has been as I've really enjoyed today. Hope you feel better.
Felipe's like, when I get my voice back, I'm going to come over there and stab you in the neck.
No. I think we figured something out today. The show works better with him over there and us over here and no communication.
I do love, I've translated, all right, Felipe's thoughts and messages. He's put them out there in the Twitch chat room. And so since he can't talk, he's got a really sore throat.
He's feeling a lot better because for the first 3 hours of the show, he had Twitch in front of him and never even responded. It took him until in the 9 o'clock hour to comment on the Twitch chat room. So he'll be fine for tomorrow.
Well, I will say from about 5:30 until 8:30, he had no color in his face. All right. And so now there's a little bit of color. Now, I don't know if that's because your temperature's going up and then that's why there's red in your face. But anyway, we may have to work on the depth chart for tomorrow. Felipe, I hope you feel better. All right. And Felipe did say he doesn't want to bother you on your golf day. Yeah.
And
since you're less
than
an hour
you know what, I'm
away,
golfing for the rest of the year.
Since you're golfing in about 54 minutes. So
with that being said, there's one thing we've got to do between now and then.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Not Meghan and Harry, David. We start today in 1837 with Queen Victoria. She was the first monarch to live in the present Buckingham Palace.
Huh.
All started with Vicky.
Is that Vicky, huh?
Vicky. 1896 is where we go next, where Ed Delahanty for the Philadelphia Phillies becomes the second major leaguer to hit 4 home runs in a game. But just like the Phillies, they lose 9-8 to the Chicago Colts that day.
Wow. I never knew that.
4 home runs in a game, and I'm guessing they were all inside the park.
I never knew, though, that Chicago had a baseball franchise called the Colts.
It was today in 1897 that the U.S. granted a pennant to Guglielmo Marconi for transmitting electrical signals. It would lead to the invention of the thing you're listening to us on right now. Today in 1923, the Hollywood sign is officially dedicated above the hills in Hollywood. It officially read Hollywood Land, but the last 4 letters are dropped after the renovation in 1949.
So that sucker's 99 years old. Huh.
1930, the first ever World Cup competition begins in Uruguay. 1954, I love this one, David. It's the 21st All-Star game. The American League wins 11-9. Dean Stone gets credit for the American League win. He did not retire a batter, but he threw out a player trying to steal home for the final out of the game. I thought it was an interesting little factoid for you. 1962 at Royal Troon, Arnie wins his 2nd consecutive Open championship.
He finished 2nd in 60. That's the Open that's considered, hey, Arnie saved this tournament because the Americans in the late 50s had stopped going over. And Arnie was the attraction, and he went over because he won the Masters in the U.S. Open. So he said, hey, and he finished 2nd in 60, but then kept going over and won it in 61 and 62.
In 63 at Royal Lytham and St. Anne's, Bob Charles would win. In 68, Gary Player would win at Carnoustie. Player would win again at 74. It was today in 1985, David, Live Aid at Wembley and JFK in Philly.
It really pains me that we never see any rebroadcasts of that, any video from that.
I mean, obviously now with Bohemian Rhapsody, you know the whole story behind Queen, but Zeppelin got back together to play that thing.
Exactly. I mean, Phil Collins played, both shows, and the U2 performance was epic.
Yes, to all of it. 2014, Germany beats Argentina for the World Cup, and it was in 2019 that Simona Halep beat Serena in straight sets in just 55 minutes to win Wimbledon. Those born today that are no longer with us, Julius Caesar. We've never gone BC on this segment before, at least that I remember, but Julius Caesar apparently born today, although I don't buy it. They use too many different calendars. And Paul Prudhomme, the Cajun chef, born today in 1940. Those that are still with us. Charles Cootie, 85 years old today.
How about that?
Actor Patrick Stewart is 82. Harrison Ford is 80.
Is his wife 50?
Is he doing another Indiana Jones movie at 80, or didn't he just do one again?
I just did one.
Roger McGuinn from the Birds is also 80. Cheech Marin is 76 today. David Thompson is 68 years old today.
And could still dunk on
You're
your
damn right he
blank.
could. Michael Spinks is 66, and Spud Webb is 59. Could he still dunk today?
Wow, Michael Spinks is 66?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was like 34 when Tyson knocked him out, so.
But could Spud Webb still dunk today?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And that is, today was a day when? On National French Fry Day, July the 13th.
Oh, well, I'll just have to honor the day.
Feel free to text the show today with where you think the best fries in Southwest Florida are.
Huh.
FSN Radio to 21,000. FSN Radio to 21,000. I'll get all of these tomorrow.
I'll be curious how many of you think McDonald's.
Should be 0.
Oh, I don't know.
Five Guys is it's not even close
Well,
how much better they are.
Well,
than
I agree.
McDonald's changed their oil a while back. Their fries are not as good.
I agree. The sodas are not as big. Don't get me started. I mean, I want to be fatter. I want my arteries more clogged. I'm very disappointed in them. They've let me down. A couple of quick things today. JFK was nominated today, back in 1960. I did that just for my mom.
Okay, I saw that and didn't put it. I should have done that for both of our moms.
And Henry Ford fired Lee Iacocca on this day in 78. He had a pretty good second act.
Well, that whole Pinto thing was Iacocca's fault. Probably took
Right. He got blamed for it. Okay, no question. But, he resuscitated Chrysler.
Yep.
And also, he was the one who was the head of the committee that put the Statue of Liberty and reinvigorated it because it was falling apart. And Lee Iacocca said, yeah, we're going to fix that. George Steinbrenner put our U.S. Olympic teams back together after we went to Calgary and just got destroyed in just about everything. And Lee Iacocca was the one that said the Statue of Liberty needs to be repaired. I'm in charge. And he raised the money, and the lady in the harbors looked great for 30 plus years.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Dunbar High School. Andrew Saladin was the winner in the Microsoft Office Specialist National Online Championships, of which I didn't know there was one, but it's for students aged 13 to 22. There was 44,000 students, and he won the top prize in the Excel competition.
For the second time.
Right. That's pretty damn impressive.
It's amazing. I think he's going for the World Championship in Dallas in a couple of weeks.
You are on to something there. For the bad, we go to Cape Coral, David, where residents are upset because kids are jumping into the water off of a bridge and using their docks to get out of the water.
Damn kids.
One homeowner has called the police several times. It's just like a big party, he says.
No.
In fact, yelled at one of the kids, and the kid gave him the finger and mooned him.
Shocked and appalled.
It's dangerous, it's trespassing, and it's against the law. Get off my lawn. Finally, the ugly, we go to Naples, where Guinevere Wolf was at Macy's all night long. She was locked inside the store overnight. She was discovered inside the women's restroom on Monday morning. Police were called. She said she didn't know the store was closing despite multiple announcements that says the store is closing. And she said she was scared to leave the bathroom as she might set off alarm. When they asked her for her identity, she said she didn't have a driver's license and gave a fake name and fake address. Then when they detained her for being in an overnight at a closed business, in her purse, you know what she had? Her driver's license, not to mention 2 driver's licenses from other states. So her day got a lot worse. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, July the 13th.
Okay, when I heard the story late yesterday, my first thought was, that's not a crazy thought that she had about, oh, wow, I got locked in here. But if I leave, I'm going to set off the alarms. So I'll just hang out where I am until the morning, and then they'll let me out. That's not a crazy thought. Everything else, though, apparently, lied, fake ID, the whole deal. But here's my question. Was there any money?
She had nothing other than some fake IDs.
Which also then goes, so it does kind of give you the impression she didn't mean to get locked in. I mean, in theory, if you get locked in, you're there because you want to do some damage or steal something.
Yeah, but by the time the morning came, she just put all the stuff away that she had stolen because she got afraid. I don't know.
Possible.
Can't fix stupid, David.
Well, listen, don't lie. Okay. You don't put your hands on them and you don't lie to them. All right. It's a very simple rule. Okay. A, they're the law, and B, they're armed. Okay. Just some advice.
Yes.
Once again, just some advice. You come into contact with law enforcement. A, don't come into contact with them, if you know what I mean. And B, tell them the truth. Their antennas go down if you tell them the truth. So, all right. It's a Wednesday. Wednesdays and Thursdays are getaway days in baseball. So we got a bunch of afternoon games. We got 5 of them.
Some good ones, though. Mets and Braves finish up their series. Brewers and Twins finish up their series. But all playoff teams right now, pretty good series between those two.
No question about 3 division leaders and the Braves, who probably will be here soon.
And I don't want to say it's a must-win, but damn it, the Marlins got to win tonight.
No. You can't lose a home series to the Pirates and be taken seriously. And I think, listen, 2 weeks ago, I thought Mattingly was in trouble. They won 6 straight. They got to within a game of 500. They've lost, I think, 5 of 7 since. I mean, he's in the final year of a contract. And remember, this general manager, Kim Ang, did not hire him. Now, she renewed him, but it was not a long extension. Just throwing that out there. I'm worried about Mattingly. I think they need to win. Game 3, Red Sox Rays. Once again, 2 Lee County high school standouts. All-star Shane McClanahan for the Rays, prior to Cape Coral, also standout at South Florida. And Josh Winkowski, a standout at Estero High School. McClanahan a lefty, Winkowski a righty. How about that?
That's awesome. It really is. But the baseball game I may be paying the most attention to tonight, David, are the Baltimore Orioles at the Chicago Cubs. Because if Baltimore wins this game, I'm going to have to do some digging to find out the last time that the O's were above 500 in July.
Buck Showalter was their manager at probably the year they went to the playoffs, so 2015.
Right.
9 in a row for the Orioles.
I hope they get to 10 just so that, they've got the Cubbies. This would be great for them.
For whatever reason, the Cubs are minus 145. That's interesting. Don't you have to throw a few shekels? Like, listen, I think the Braves are the better team, but the Mets have their number 3 star. It's Charlie Morton for the Braves, but it's a really good starter for the Mets. It's Chris Bassett, who's no worse than their number 3. And you can get the Mets at plus 155. So you can get the Orioles, who have won 9 in a row, at damn near plus 150. And you can get the Mets at plus 150 as well. They're both on the road. I think you got to play them. You got to figure one of them is going to win, right? And don't you have to play the Yankees hard tonight? They've lost 3 in a row. They blew a 3-0 ninth inning lead. They're sending Severino.
Do you know what you have to wager?
I know.
They are minus 330.
But they're going to win tonight. They're not losing 4 in a row. Severino's pitching. His ERA's 3. All right. Mike Minor's pitching for the Reds. His ERA is nearly 7.
Hit it hard then.
I mean, this is as close to a guaranteed win as baseball can give you, right?
330 to win 100.
I'm telling you.
I know you're telling me.
I'm laying the 3, and I almost always take the other side in these things. The Yankees are not losing 4 in a row.
I believe you're right. I don't know if I have the guts to lay those kind of odds for a July baseball game.
I know, because think about it. I could get both the Mets and the Orioles bets right. If I get the Yankees bets wrong, I lose money.
Exactly. Exactly. And on National French Fry Day, text us, the best fries in Southwest Florida. Would love to see what you think. FSN Radio is the keyword. 21,000 is the number for you to text in. I already had a bunch of votes already totally loving the French fry comments coming in.
All right. Since the Eben Championship will be underway when we're back on the air, do you have a pick?
Rory?
I am not going Rory. I'm not.
But I think DJ is going to be a top 5 guy.
I am going down with the ship, Mark. Down with the ship. Give me some Will Zalatoris.
Hope you're right.
I'm picking him till he wins a major.
I love it. I love it. Great show today. If you missed any of it, download it at all the usual spots. We thank you so very much for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow at 6 a.m. right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost any